The story begins with a beautiful proposal. Leticia didn't even remember how long she had been dreaming of this moment. Without hesitation, she humbly accepted his proposal. Sebran's future husband was overjoyed and relieved, as he had been wondering what he would do if she turned him down. Leticia comforted him by saying that there was no way she would refuse, and thanked him. When they returned home, Fiona seemed like she was looking for them. Sebran greeted her, and she said she had been expecting him. She saw Leticia holding a beautiful purple rose bouquet and asked if she had gotten it from someone. She assumed it was a present from Lord Sebran, and Leticia confirmed her. She said it was so lovely, just like the color of her eyes. Sebran said he would give her one too, a bouquet of blue roses, the same color as her eyes. Fiona said she couldn't because she didn't have the right to receive something like that. She was about to say something to Leticia, but she said she would put those flowers in a vase so they wouldn't wither, and in the meantime she asked her to keep him company. Fiona eagerly accepted, and they left there. While returning to her room, she saw her stepmother. She asked if the bouquet was a gift from someone and assumed that she received a proposal today. Leticia confirmed this, saying Sebran formally proposed to her. She said that was good for her, and added that if things were the other way around, Fiona would have been chosen instead. When Leticia returned to her room, she was sure her father would have thought the same and started crying. Her biological mother, Lucretia Cardina, was the only daughter of a distinguished count's family. Her father and mother were said to have had a political marriage. Her father, Count Frank Cardina, and her mother, who had unrequited feelings for him, personally begged her parents and succeeded in marrying him. However, her father already had another lover. Lady Imelda was her current stepmother. At the time, their love was hindered by a difference in social status, and those around them opposed it. Their relationship was torn apart by her mother. However, even after being separated, they continued to meet in secret. Lady Imelda conceived her father's child, and that child was her stepsister, Fiona. When two children were born at the same time, her mother was broken. When she learned of Fiona's birth, she closed herself off and never spoke to anyone again. Even though she wanted to see her mother, the butler kept telling her that her mother became unsettled just by seeing her and she must endure it. While she was dealing with that, she met Lord Sebran. Lord Sebran was her childhood friend who lived nearby. When they were playing with flowers, Sebran noticed that she was making something and asked. She said it was a flower garland. He was amazed by how good she was with her hand and said he was jealous. His parents came and called for him. Leticia was much more envious of Sebran's warm family. She truly envied it. Sebran told his parents to wait and return to Leticia. He asked her to teach her to make a flower garland next time. She was surprised that he wanted to make it himself. He said that if he gave it to his mother, she would be happy, and he assumed she made hers for that reason too. He approached her and said that when he got sick, his mother gave him a little charm while saying, "I hope you get better soon." And he said he hoped that her mother would get well soon too. Seeing them getting along so well, Sebran's father suggested taking her as his bride in the future and embarrassed her. Her mother backed him up and said they would be thrilled. Their family had a good relationship with Marquis Cardina as well. Meanwhile, Lord Cardina was watching them from his office. He was asked if he was concerned about Leticia's growth, but he responded that his real daughter was only one person. Having received no affection from either her father or mother, she came to wish for a future where she would be united with him. Time passed after that, and her mother passed away from this world. It was 2 years ago, and she could remember her father's emotionless face. He wouldn't even shed a single tear. Just when she was thinking how alone she was, Sebran came and asked if she was all right. They said it was for relatives only, but he was worried about her, so he came right away. Leticia was shocked to see him and immediately started crying in his arms. She was devastated that her mother passed away without ever acknowledging her as her real daughter. Sebran said it was all right and he would always stay by her side. Sebran was the only one who hadn't changed and loved her. And that's why, even though he was the only hope she had to keep on living, when her father brought Fiona and Lady Imelda to their house, saying this was her new family, from now on, Imelda would be her stepmother, and Fiona would be her half-sister, and they would all be living together in this mansion starting today. Leticia didn't expect her father to be this cruel. It hadn't even been 2 months since her mother passed away. And even if he didn't love her, he should at least respect her. Leticia wanted to say that this was a bit too much, but Lord Cardina didn't let her speak and told her to do as she was told. He ordered her to treat Fiona kindly and show Fiona to her room. Her father, who could hardly be said to have shown her any fatherly affection, acted with those two as if they had long been a beloved family. Living with her mother, who could not speak due to illness, and her father, who seemed not to acknowledge her as his own daughter, Leticia felt she had no place here. Her thoughts were distracted by Fiona, who said this was a lovely mansion. She was amazed and said it was like a dream to be able to live in such a grand place, and assumed she must be very happy. Leticia heard that this mother and daughter lived alone in a small house in the suburbs, kept hidden away by her father. Fiona offered her hand to Leticia and said from now on as true sisters, she was looking forward to getting along with you. While going to her room, Fiona entered Leticia's room and started wandering around without permission. Leticia told her that this was her room, but she ignored her and noticed the photo of Sebran and her. She asked who he was and teased her. Panicked, Leticia tried to take the picture back, but she said she didn't need to hide it, and they looked perfect together. She said she was jealous because she didn't have someone like that. She asked for his name, and Leticia said he was Sebran, her childhood friend. She said it was a little surprising that Fiona didn't have someone special because she was very pretty. Fiona said that it was simple. It was because she was a mistress's child. Even though she had a perfectly respectable father, she had been looked down on just because they didn't live together. And that was how society treats a mistress and her child. Leticia didn't know this until now. Because of her and her mother, Fiona and her mother had to suffer like that. Fiona held her hand and said, that's why she was so happy to be invited to this mansion. She asked if Leticia would get along with her, and she said, of course. Even though Fiona wasn't guilty of anything, Leticia tried to endure the atonement toward the two of them. That said, more than ever before, she started to feel out of place, as if she were the only one here who didn't exist in this space. When she finished her meal, she stood up to go. Her father asked if Sebran was here to pick her up yet. Leticia didn't want Sebran to be mentioned, but there was nothing she could do. Fiona was abnormally excited that Sebran would be here. Lady Imelda told Fiona that she would be attending the same academy someday, and she should get acquainted. Fiona agreed and said she would go too. Imelda decided to greet him as Fiona's mother. Leticia didn't want Sebran to meet the two of them. When they were walking, Fiona couldn't help but show her excitement. Leticia had a bad feeling about this. Sebran's carriage arrived and he immediately greeted her. He noticed Fiona and Lady Imelda standing behind her and asked who they were. Fiona greeted Sebran and introduced herself as Leticia's half-sister. Leticia watched Sebran's eyes sparkle when he saw Fiona. He started sweating and stuttering out of nowhere. Leticia said she would explain the situation later. Lady Imelda told them to have a good time, and Sebran and Leticia left the house. Leticia couldn't stop remembering the moment Sebran met Fiona. The look on his face was so different. Leticia told him what happened when they were in the carriage and said that because of her mother and her, those people suffered too. Even so, she didn't want her time with Sebran to be taken away. When they left, Lady Imelda told Fiona to go back to the mansion ahead of them. She then went to the backyard and stood behind a man sitting there. She told him that he was just like a filthy rat and reminded him not to come here. Before she left there, she told him not to dare ruin their plans. Leticia didn't want to go home today. If Sebran and those two were together again, she wasn't sure what would happen. Her friend Viola called for her and asked what the matter was with her. She thought Sebran and Leticia had a rare fight and said if that was the case, he was an idiot for making someone as cute as her upset. Viola wasn't interested in boys at all because she thought they were just a hassle. She said that if it were her, she would want to be independent and live on her own in the future. As long as she had a skill, she could live without relying on anyone. Leticia totally supported her idea. Viola was shocked by her response because she seemed different. The thought of living on her own without relying on anyone made her feel really good and relieved. In the next scene, Leticia recalled one of the days when her deceased mother was in a good mood. She suggested going outside to see it after school and asked her to wait for her until she got back. At the rare sight of snow falling, her mother was excited, so she never imagined it would turn out like that. She went outside alone without waiting for her to come home and fell asleep on a bench. She realized that she had dozed off when her friend Isaac called her name. She apologized to him and he said it was fine, but she watered the flower so much that it was literally floating. He said if she was tired, he could finish the rest on his own. Leticia said she was fine and just lost in thought for a bit. She remembered it again because of the things she said. Leticia mentioned that taking care of the plants actually calmed her. Isaac noticed that she was unusual because nobody else ever wanted to be on the beautification committee. She giggled and said she liked plants. The more love she gave them, the straighter they grew. They were honest and adorable little things. Isaac seemed like he had never thought about it like that. Leticia noticed that it was strange that she could say, "the more love you give," when she had never once received her parents' love for herself, yet she still felt that way. Her friend Viola came and started scolding Isaac. She said that a guy like him on the beautification committee must have some ulterior motive. Leticia was confused because she didn't act like that at all. Isaac told Viola that it was just a way to kill time and commented that she was such an overprotective best friend. Viola told Isaac that there were rumors that he was a delinquent. Leticia still kind of admired him. Viola couldn't believe she actually liked that type, but she didn't mean that. She said he was always alone. She wondered if being alone ever felt lonely. When she goes home, they treat her like she didn't even exist, and she wishes to be as strong and dignified as him. Even though her family had grown in number, it felt like she had even less of a place than before. She tried not to think badly of her new family, but couldn't help it. Viola saw someone and asked who that was. She said she looked like an outside and thought they might be just here to look around. However, That person was Fiona. She saw Leticia and greeted her. She said that starting tomorrow she would be attending this academy too. From now on, they would be at school together, and she was so happy. She came today to finish the enrollment paperwork and asked if Sebran wasn't here. Leticia said he was in a different class. Fiona said they should talk when they got home and left there. Viola asked who that was. Leticia explained that the lady was her father's new wife and that she was her stepsister. Viola was shocked because she knew Imelda was that shameless mistress, and Fiona was her daughter. She found it beyond disgraceful that they moved into their house right after her mother passed away. Leticia defended them by saying they didn't do anything wrong, even if she was a mistress and the one her father truly loved was that woman. Viola couldn't believe she was defending them because a mistress was still a mistress, and there was no point in worrying about their feelings. When Fiona and her mother returned home, Imelda told her to get ready for her first day of school. Imelda was so happy to see Leticia's face like that. It was hard to burst out laughing at school. She looked just like her mother. Just remembering her mother made her blood boil. She stole away from her previous husband, and now Leticia's eyes made her feel like she was looking down on her. She thought they infuriated her, and she wanted to shatter them. But that was only a matter of time because she had a beloved daughter of her own. She wouldn't let them steal anything from her ever again. Not her husband, not this house, not anything. When they were returning from school, Sebran noticed from the carriage's window that Fiona and Imelda were waiting in front of their house. Imelda greeted Sebran and ignored Leticia. Leticia couldn't believe she was waiting for them to come back. Sebran said they didn't have to come out to greet them. She said it was fine and then invited him to their house and stayed for some tea. Imelda said she even baked cookies, and she wanted both of them to try them. They went to the garden and served the cookies. Sebran was surprised that Fiona made them. She said it was her hobby. Sebran tasted all of them and found them delicious. Fiona was glad he liked them. She said he never knew Fiona had such a talent and it was the best he had ever had. Imelda was thrilled because she had trained Fiona herself to cook delicious things. Imelda told Leticia to try some too, and she said okay. She ate one and seemed to have liked it just like Sebran. Fiona asked if she ever made sweets, and before she could respond, Imelda started laughing because a noble lady would never make sweets. All the household work was done by the servants after all. However, Leticia was a pure girl and commented that the tea Lady Imelda brews was also delicious. Fiona agreed and said her mother was very skilled at brewing tea. She didn't expect a comment like that and said that Fiona and she lived alone together for a long time, and she ended up getting good at all sorts of things. She didn't expect Leticia to look at her with sparkling eyes and say how amazing it was. She thought she was trying to throw her off balance. She hated her mother so much that she wanted to drive Leticia into a corner completely. Later that day, Leticia was doing her homework and started to think about Fiona and Lady Imelda. She figured out how much hardship they had gone through, and it was the kind she couldn't even begin to imagine before they came to this mansion. She wanted to be like them too. Wanted the strength to live without relying on anyone, and for that, she decided to ask their chef to teach her how to cook. He was quite surprised but wasn't sure if that would be okay because if she were to cut herself with a knife, her father would fire him. Leticia was about to say that her father didn't really care about her, but then an old lady appeared and said it was wonderful to take an interest in cooking. They asked if there was a certain gentleman she had her eye on. She said it wasn't like that. But that old lady told her that she already had someone. They figured that it was Lord Sebran and knew she couldn't let Lady Fiona beat her. She said that Fiona also came to borrow the kitchen and she was so eager. She said she was going to give the cookies to the man she was interested in. The lady wondered if she had already found someone at the academy who had caught her eye. But Leticia knew that meant that Fiona also liked Sebran. The next day, Sebran was waiting for the girls and said they would be together here too, starting today. Fiona was looking forward to being with him. Leticia noticed that Sebran was kind to everyone. It had only been a few days since they met, but they already looked like a couple. She tried to comfort herself, thinking it must be her imagination, but her eyes started to tear up already. On their way to school, Fiona mentioned that Sebran's family and her family had been close like family for a long ago. Sebran confirmed her. She suddenly held his hand and mentioned something that her father said. She asked for his opinion. Leticia was shocked. Fiona found it absolutely wonderful. Leticia thought she was talking about herself and Sebran, but when she mentioned that she knew Leticia and Sebran had been promised to each other since childhood, and that she just wanted to support the two of them, she was a bit relieved. She said that two of them were such a perfect match, so she would make sure not to get in the way. On the other hand, Sebran interrupted Fiona and said it wasn't like that. He said that they made that kind of promise when they were kids, and now it was more like their parents were the only ones saying it on their own. And besides, he thought it would trouble her if something like that was suddenly brought up and asked Leticia for her opinion. Leticia had no other choice but to confirm him. Sebran said neither Letty nor did he know what the future holds yet, so he wanted her to treat them normally. Fiona felt bad for jumping to conclusions. He said it was fine and asked Leticia. Leticia forced herself to smile. When they arrived at school, Sebran offered to walk Leticia to her class, but she said she had got class duty today, but she lied to them. Isaac saw her walking fast somewhere and was about to tell her something about the beautification committee, but when he noticed that she was crying, he was shocked. Worried, he followed her. She went to the stairs and sat there to cry. She couldn't believe she was expecting a real marriage over some childhood promise. Suddenly, someone walked in on her from behind and pushed her. Isaac ran to save her. In the next scene, Leticia saw a person standing there. When she got closer, she noticed that it was Sebran. But even though Sebran saw her, he ignored her and turned to Fiona. She was right next to him, and they were laughing. She reached her hand to tell Sebran not to go, but then woke up crying. Wondering where she was, she looked around and remembered that she had fallen down the stairs. The school doctor asked how she was feeling. She figured that she had been taken to the infirmary. She said her leg hurt a little. The doctor explained that a student nearby saved her. Apparently she was about to fall, but the student saved her from hitting her head. She could remember bumping into someone right before falling. The doctor told her that if she wanted to thank someone, she should thank him. Isaac was sitting there. The doctor said he saved her and carried her here. But Isaac fell asleep on the seat, so the doctor said he must be tired. After that, she asked how her leg was. When the doctor touched her leg to examine it, it hurt so bad that walking was out of the question. But apparently someone was coming to pick her up, so she didn't need to worry. Confused, Leticia wondered who was coming. Worried, Sebran entered the room and Leticia asked how he knew she was here. Fiona showed up right behind him and said a man named Isaac came to their class and told them. She seemed worried. Leticia asked what she meant by out of class. Sebran explained that today was Fiona's first day transferring in, so since she wasn't there, he took her to the staff room. Fiona said she was shocked when the teacher told her which class she was in. She said she ended up in the same class as Lord Sebran. Sebran said he was surprised too. Leticia was devastated because she was in a different class. Isaac woke up and told them to cut the chit-chat already. He asked Leticia how her injury was and asked if she could walk on her own. He turned to Sebran and stared at him for a moment. He was going to say something to him, but then Viola burst into the room asking if she was all right. She started scolding everyone, including Leticia, asking why she was alone in a place like that. Leticia tried to convince her that she was fine, but she was so worried. She then turned to Sebran and yelled at him that she couldn't walk today, and it was his duty to carry her or do something to make sure she didn't have to use her legs. Sebran was terrified of her and said she could leave it to him. Fiona asked who she was, and he explained that she was Leticia's close friend. Viola asked Sebran if he understood the reason why she was asking him. Sebran seemed to know the reason and told Leticia to get on, and he would take her to the carriage stop. Leticia's face was redder than a tomato, but Viola was so proud of herself. She wasn't sure if that would be okay, even though she was so happy. Fiona told them to wait and asked if that wasn't too much. She asked if they weren't embarrassed. Viola asked what she was talking about and reminded her that Leticia couldn't walk. Fiona said she thought Lord Sebran might be embarrassed and Leticia might not have wanted that either. When Leticia thought about Sebran, she found Fiona right. But suddenly, Isaac stepped in and carried her in his arms. He told the others that this wasn't the time to worry about appearances and they should get home and see a doctor right away. Leticia told Isaac that it was fine and he could put her down. But this made him even more mad, and he told her that an injured person should just shut up and rest. Sebran thanked Isaac, but he turned to him and reminded him that this was his job. Fiona seemed very happy that Isaac was doing this instead of Sebran. Before they left the room, Isaac noticed that Fiona's facial expression changed from innocent to evil, and he felt a sense of unease. She was a hard one to read. While he was carrying Leticia to the carriage, everyone in the schoolyard was watching them, so Leticia thought she should get down, but Isaac told her to shut up again. She said she must be heavy, and he told her not to worry about it. She was having a hard time understanding why he would go this far for someone like her. Isaac asked if she was planning to leave him to take care of all the plants himself and told her to hurry up and get that leg healed. The bully of the school saw them and started teasing Isaac, asking if a low-born noble like him had stooped to being some girl's pack horse. But Isaac kicked him out of his way and didn't care about him. Leticia felt so bad that she put him in this position, but he said he was used to it. Nobility was all nonsense to him. When they arrived at the carriage, Viola told her not to push herself and gave her the stuff they were holding for her. When they returned home, Lady Imelda was waiting for them in a big excitement. She was shocked when she saw Leticia using crutches. Fiona explained that Leticia hurt her leg. Sebran told Leticia to get on him, and he would carry her to her room, and Fiona said she would take the luggage. While they were supporting them, Lady Imelda got over her shock and showed her frustration because there was something even more important than that. Her father was also shocked that she had hurt her leg. Sebran apologized to her father for not being there. Her father said today was Fiona's first day at school and seemed to care more about that. Imelda backed him up and said it seemed like she did it on purpose. Her father then told Sebran that he would take over from here and carried Leticia. Imelda got even angrier and asked if he realized what he was doing. She said that today was Fiona's very first day at her new school, and nothing was more important than that. Her father reminded Imelda that there was only one daughter who mattered right in front of Leticia. Once again, Leticia realized that she really didn't have a place here. When he brought her to her room, Leticia thanked him for going out of his way, but he didn't even look at her. Seeing that reaction, Leticia would rather have him do nothing at all. It only made things more awkward. But suddenly, her father asked how school life was. Leticia was shocked and asked if he was talking about her school. She was taken aback and thought her father was concerned about her. But when he asked if Fiona was doing all right, at least, she realized what he meant and responded that she was fine. She said that because of what happened to her today, she hasn't been able to check up on her properly. He then asked if her leg hurt. Given how things were, she tried to comfort him that she had crutches, and she wasn't troubling anyone now, even though her leg hurt. Her father seemed nervous and asked her to give him a little of her time. Leticia asked what it was, but then he seemed to change his mind and told her to forget what he said and do something about her leg. At dinner, Leticia used her crutches to return to her room. She said she took a while to get ready, so she went ahead. While she was trying to walk, Lady Imelda tripped her and made her fall. She yelled at her to stop being so spoiled. She said that she couldn't expect her father and Lord Sebran to carry her around forever, and that she should practice walking with her cane more. Fiona asked if she was okay and assumed she wasn't used to the cane. Her mother noticed how worried Fiona was and once again was proud of herself for giving birth to such an angel. On the other hand, she was calling Leticia the filthy crawling sow in her head. When they went to the carriage, Sebran mentioned that his parents were worried about her injury, and they would like to come by today. She said she wouldn't mind it, while Fiona was getting excited that she got to meet his parents. At that moment, Leticia never imagined that she would spend the most wonderful day of her life, only to endure the worst night of it too. When Leticia was a child, she was captivated by embroidery. Sebran's mother was skilled at embroidery. Since she found no joy in teaching it to her sons, she taught her as though she were her own daughter. When she was trying to do it, she noticed that Leticia had talent. She then noticed that she had pricked her hand with the needle. She started to look for a first aid kit because they needed to treat it, but she said it was nothing. She told Leticia that germs could get in and it might fester. After treating her fingers, she said they could be at ease now. Her real mother was bedridden with illness. If she had been healthy, she wondered if it would have been like this. It made her so happy that she was taking care of her. Back to the present, she mentioned to Viola that Sebran's parents were visiting their house. She said she hadn't gone to see them since her mother passed, so she was looking forward to it. Viola found it shameless that those ill-bred people would be sitting in on the visit too. Isaac overheard her and asked who exactly she was talking about. Viola said she didn't mean him and she was talking about Leticia's half-sister. Isaac also called her a shameless tramp. He asked what it was about, and Viola said Sebran's parents were coming to visit out of worry about Leticia's injury, and yet those girls were acting all giddy as if it was about them. Isaac didn't expect Sebran's parents to be good people. Viola said it was still good that she would be able to see them again. Isaac then asked how her leg was. She said she wasn't used to the crutch, so she fell a few times. But she was fine now. She remembered how much Isaac helped her and wanted to do something to thank him. He told her to make sure she was healed before the beautification committee's work got through. After their class ended, Leticia asked Viola if she knew the reason why Isaac joined the beautification committee. However, she also didn't know about it. When Leticia returned home, their butler showed her a wheelchair. He said it was from her father because of her injured leg. He told her to try using it right away. Leticia realized that this was what her father meant when she said he was preparing something. The butler helped her sit and asked how it was. It felt comfortable, and it seemed easy to use. The butler commented that if he gave her something so expensive, her father must really treasure her. But his words didn't really affect her because she remembered her father saying she only had one daughter that mattered to him. She knew he didn't care about her, but still he was the one who gave her this wheelchair. A maid arrived and informed her that the Maguire couple, Lord Sebran's parents, were here to visit. She seemed to panic, so Leticia told her that she would be there right away. However, the reason why Maid was panicked was that they arrived 30 minutes ago, and Lady Imelda went to greet them instead. Lady Imelda told them she was feeling down and didn't want to see anyone. After that, the Maguire couple wanted her to come check on her. Leticia asked the butler to lend her a hand, and they went downstairs. She couldn't believe something like this happened, and she gave them such a wrong impression. When she arrived there, she apologized for being late. However, Sebran's mother was so excited to see her and immediately hugged her, saying how much she missed her. While hugging her, she said she was so glad that it was the same Leticia as always. With teary eyes, she said she must have been so lonely since her mother passed away and told her that she had done so well. Leticia couldn't help but cry because she needed those words. While they were hugging, Lady Imelda cleared her throat. Sebran's father mentioned how Imelda mentioned she didn't want to see anyone. Imelda was bold enough to say that she had been unstable since losing her mother, but she seemed to be doing well today. They sat down and Sebran's mother noticed that she didn't look well. She noticed the dark circles under her eyes and asked if she was sleeping properly. Lady Imelda didn't let her talk and said it was natural since she had been an only daughter until they came. She even bowed to her, saying they had only just come to this house, and because of their shortcomings, she was sure there were things Leticia didn't take kindly to and she was sorry. She said that they already saw her as true family, but in her eyes they were only more than outsiders. Leticia was shocked by how well she was playing the victim. She even started tearing up, saying she wished to become like a real mother to her as soon as she could, and she had been making the effort, but she had felt how hard it was to be close to her. Leticia almost froze hearing those words. Sebran's mother went to comfort Imelda and said they had a son that age too, and they understood the frustration when things didn't go smoothly. Fiona interrupted and said her mother raised her all on her own, and she was a mother she was proud of. She said she loved this house and Lord Sebran too and just wanted to get along with everyone. They were all amazed by how cute and diligent Fiona was. Fiona told Leticia to come talk to her about anything. Leticia had no idea what the hell was going on. She was being painted as the villain here and she couldn't even say a word. Suddenly, Sebran's parents glanced at each other and his father nodded. After that, his father asked Fiona and Imelda to excuse them for a while. Imelda couldn't hide her real face, so he said that he wanted to speak with Leticia in private. He said he knew it was rude to ask, but they asked them to allow it just once. Even though Imelda was uneasy, she and Fiona left the room. When they left, Sebran's parents said they could talk properly and that Lady Imelda was right about her not being at ease. Leticia immediately tried to clear things up, but Sebran's mother said she already knew that wasn't true. She had watched her since she was little, and she wasn't the kind of child who would ever say that. Leticia was so glad that they knew her. Suddenly, Sebran's mother asked Leticia to come live with them. Panicked, Leticia asked what she meant. She said she meant to live together. She said if it were just 2 years later, they would both be adults and able to get engaged. His mother asked Sebran about his opinion on engaging Leticia in 2 years. Before he responded, Leticia recalled what he said in the carriage. But to her surprise, Sebran was okay with getting engaged. He said he would have to think of some proper proposal words. Leticia mentioned how he said it was only some childhood promise. He said at the time he felt that way, but he said he liked her. Leticia was over the moon. She thought there would be nothing happier than this. Meanwhile, Lady Imelda broke things. Fiona explained to the butlers that her mother slipped her hand and asked them to clean up. Imelda was sure they were mocking her, looking down on her, and shutting her out. And she was also angry at those maids and butlers who brought her. And she was sure that the wheelchair was her husband's doing. She couldn't stand any of this. Leticia opened the door and informed her that the guests were leaving now and asked if she would go to see them off. She started yelling at her and called her a rotten kusaradama. Apparently it was the name of that flower lying there. It was named for resembling pea family's radama, also called sulfur grass. Fiona joined Leticia to see the guests off. Leticia looked at her and she knew she liked Sebran too. But she was happy that Sebran chose her. She didn't have to feel insecure anymore. When they left, they headed back to the house. The Lord was informed that the Maguire couple had come and he apologized for not being there. Imelda said it was fine and she took care of them. She then immediately mentioned the meaning of buying this expensive wheelchair to her. Her father stated that it was something they already had in the house and it took some time for servants to find where it had been stored away. Leticia realized that her father didn't spend any money on that and wondered why something like this would be in their house. After that, she wanted to have a word with him. Her father seemed nervous and asked what it was. Lady Imelda asked if she wouldn't let them hear it too. She said she didn't want to talk about it here, but Fiona assumed it was about the engagement. Shocked, Leticia questioned why she knew about this already. She said there was no need to hide it, but didn't even let her talk and said Leticia promised to marry Lord Sebran. Lady Imelda started to yell at her again for not consulting her parents before. But her father said that it was wonderful and gave his blessings. Leticia was so happy that her father approved it. He said that forming ties with the Maguire family was hardly a bad thing, and he would speak with them himself as well. Lady Imelda was so against this and said it didn't have to be Leticia. Lord asked why she was getting so worked up about this because it wasn't like she was the one getting married. Leticia was so happy that Sebran and she would be happy from now on. She was so glad that his feelings were genuine and this was the best day of her life. While she was returning to her room, Fiona mentioned how wonderful it was to be marrying Lord Sebran. Leticia said it was, then asked how she knew about it. She said Sebran told her when they were seeing the guests off that he had made a promise of engagement to her. He said it was because it would make everyone happy. She mentioned that Lord Sebran was truly so kind. Shocked, Leticia asked if he really said that to her. Fiona confirmed what she said. She said she was so jealous of her because she was an admirable man, and it was so thoughtful of his parents to treasure others' feelings over his own. While she was saying how lucky she was, Leticia passed out because of shock. She had a dream about a girl she didn't know, standing in front of a door. She asked her to come outside and started leading her away. She asked if it was her first time seeing the ocean. Leticia asked who she was and then saw her face. She saw herself. She told her to look at something, and they saw a beautiful city. When she opened her eyes, she was in her bed. There was water next to her. She figured that she had collapsed again. She saw the photo of Sebran and her and then saw the picture right next to that. It was the scenery from her dream. If she remembered right, it was called Anemone Island. It was her mother's hometown. She started to tear up because it was beautiful. A cobalt blue sea with rows of white-walled buildings topped with blue roofs along the coast. If she could run away to a place where no one knew her, she would want it to be somewhere like this. 2 years passed, and they were about to be adults and make their engagement official. However, the way Sebran treated her hadn't changed one bit. In fact, he only seemed to be getting closer to Fiona. The real nuisance here was Leticia. Sebran was kind to everyone, so his feelings for her were nothing more than simple kindness. When they arrived at school, Sebran told Leticia that he would pick her up after class again and left with Fiona again. Once they were officially engaged, she couldn't help but hope that things would be different this time. Viola greeted Leticia and noticed that Fiona was with Sebran again. She couldn't believe she didn't care about the engagement. She was a real hater of Fiona, and she was right. She wanted her to just disappear somewhere. That made Leticia think, and she asked where she would want to go if she could go far away somewhere. She was a bit creeped out by this sudden question, but then started to think about it. She said she would go to a foreign country she had always wanted to visit, or maybe visit some relatives. It could be nice to just wander overseas without any real purpose, too, and then run away with a man she met there. That sounded wonderful to Leticia. Though she had never met her relatives before, she wondered if her grandparents were still in her mother's hometown. But they didn't even come to her mother's funeral, and she heard they had completely washed their hands of their family. While she was dozing off again, Isaac came and patted her head. Panicked, Leticia pushed him and said it was rude to touch a lady's head so casually. He said it suits her a lot better than walking around with that gloomy face looking down. Viola came and called him Tackles, but she knew he had changed too. He didn't feel as unapproachable as before. It might be because he had been working with her on the beautification committee. She said Sebran should find out about this and get at least a little jealous. Leticia didn't think Sebran would get jealous because he didn't even see her that way. Viola was feeling so bad for her friend and realized that they really were so constrained. Those who didn't have the strength to live on their own, their entire future decided by the man they married. It was like they fell in love just to survive. If she could be independent, she wondered if she should be able to live true to herself without being pushed around by men. Would living true to herself make her happier than she was now? She wondered. But then she said she was kidding because there was no point in thinking about things like that. Leticia realized that she wanted to live true to herself too. She clung to a mother broken in spirit, unable to speak, a father who had no interest in family, and a childhood friend obsessed with her stepsister. If no one would love her, then she wanted to become someone she could love. She loved Sebran, but if she chose Fiona, she could do nothing. At night, Leticia finished helping her father, and he told her to leave them over there. He said it had been 3 years since she started helping him with his work, and she had been a great help. That surprised her because she never thought he would actually speak to her. She started helping him a few years ago, hoping he might show even a little interest in her, but nothing like this had ever happened before. She wondered if it was because he was in a good mood today. She mentioned that his birthday was coming up soon. At first he seemed like she was in a bad mood, but then he said he was surprised that she remembered. She asked if he would be home this year. He said normally he would be away for work, but this year he was going to be at home. That was a bit strange because even if he wasn't home on his birthday, Leticia had given him a gift every year. She was surprised that he would think she would forget his birthday. Last year and the year before, Lady Imelda took her presents, saying she would give them to him for her. She thought Imelda might throw them away, but she didn't know what happened to the ones from before. In any case, once she reaches adulthood this year, she might have to leave this mansion, and if that happens, this might be the last time she could celebrate her father's birthday here. So at the very least, she wanted to celebrate it properly this last time, to bring up closure. In the next scene, Fiona asked Leticia if she had a moment. She wanted to talk about her father's birthday this week. They sat in the carriage and she said she thought they could all choose father's present from a man's perspective with Lord Sebran's help. If she was okay with it, they wanted to go to 3 of them after school. Sebran said Fiona and he already scouted out the shops and she should come today. Shocked, Leticia asked if they went out scouting together. Sebran asked if that was weird. She said it wasn't, but that sounded almost like a date. She said she had already prepared his present. Fiona wanted to hear what she bought for him. She said they wouldn't want their gifts to overlap. She thought it would be fine to tell her that much and said she bought cufflinks. They said that was a great choice, and Fiona asked which shop she bought it from. Sebran promised to buy something completely different. Leticia noticed that she sometimes couldn't understand what he was thinking. At school, Viola was complaining about how she got 2 hours of committee work after school today. Viola was also busy today, and she turned down Fiona and the others' invitation to invite Viola to her home, so she decided to grab a carriage and head home alone. But she then saw Isaac on a bicycle and was shocked. Isaac asked if she was by herself. She said she couldn't believe he commutes to school on a bicycle. She said it was amazing and asked if he could ride it. He asked if she was making fun of him because why would he bring it if he couldn't ride it? He asked if that was her first time even seeing a bicycle. They weren't common here, so it was her first time. She didn't know anyone close to her who could ride one. Isaac asked if she would like to ride on the back. Leticia started freaking out and said it was impossible to ride it with two people. He said she didn't have to reject it with such intensity. He asked if she was holding back because of her fiancé, even though he was off chasing after some other girl. He told her that doing this wouldn't bring her bad karma, and in fact she would be obliged to change back. Eventually, Leticia agreed to sit in the back, and she did not regret it. The wind felt so nice and she was happy. Isaac apologized because he knew it wasn't the back she was hoping to be behind. It was true that a deep part of her wished this back were Sebran's. She couldn't help but think that way, and felt bad for Isaac. While riding on the bicycle, they noticed the carriage from their house. Isaac stopped at the shop and wanted to go there. Leticia stopped him and he asked what was wrong. She didn't know how to explain this to him. She was curious about those two being in that shop, but she also didn't want to show her face there. Isaac already figured out why she was acting like that and told her to head to the bookstore 2 doors down, and he would go check things out for her. He said he didn't know what was bothering her, but at least he could check what they were buying at a men's shop. He told her to wait here and not complain. While she was looking at the books, she couldn't focus on all because she couldn't stop worrying about those two. When Isaac arrived, he informed her that they were buying cufflinks. Leticia was so shocked, and this puzzled Isaac. She said that that was her present for her father, and she couldn't believe they would buy the exact same thing. Isaac made the exact same face when he heard it. She said that they asked her since they shouldn't get the same gift, and yet they went and bought it. Isaac told her not to think about it because they bought the same thing on purpose to mess with her. Seemed like that woman was really looking down on her and told her to go back to that store right now. Leticia asked why, and he said there was nothing sweeter than the look on the face of someone who was sure they had already won. As he started dragging her out of the bookstore, he said they were going to rub it in their faces and knock them down a peg. They watched Fiona and Sebran going out of the store, and when they had gone home, Isaac questioned why they would be together without her. After that, they went into the shop. Leticia wasn't sure about anything at this point. The shop owner, Mr. Paul, asked if she was shopping here today. Isaac didn't know he knew her. Mr. Paul was the manager here, and it was her first time seeing him at the shop. He was one of her father's business partners. Mr. Paul said he was surprised to see her with her boyfriend and asked if it was a gift for him. Panicked, Leticia explained that he wasn't her boyfriend. Isaac explained that she only came here looking for a gift for her father, and he was just tagging along. Mr. Paul thought about a gift for her father for a moment and brought a tie pin asking how it would be. He said Lord Caldina came here on business just the other day, and he was eagerly searching for a purple tie pin. At the time, they were out of stock, but they had just received a new shipment. Isaac commented that it was a fine piece and asked if she could one-up that woman if she bought this. He said that they knew she was planning to give cufflinks, so they went and bought the exact same thing on purpose so she could turn the tables and prepare something different. Leticia asked if she was going to change her gift. He confirmed her and said that if her father wanted this, it shows he had a good eye because that was the same color as her eyes. After buying the pin, Leticia thanked Isaac for helping her so much. He said it wasn't a big deal, and more importantly, he wanted her to make sure she put those guys in their place. When he left, Leticia realized how strong he was. She thought how nice it would be to go anywhere on a bike like that. Compared to that, she was just standing. She had never thought about putting someone in their place because Fiona had been acting so nice to her. At home, Lady Imelda was showing off her dress. Apparently, Lord Sebran picked it. She said that compared to Leticia, Fiona was far more suited to him. Fiona said that wasn't true, but Imelda insisted that she wouldn't give up. She said her father and she were torn apart the same way, but God was watching over them, and if two people truly love each other, even if they were torn apart once, they would find their way back together like her and Lord Cardina, and the fact that they were in this house was proof. Fiona started to feel like God really did exist. When it was finally their father's birthday dinner, Fiona seemed excited. She asked her to go first to give presents, and Leticia agreed. She thanked her and said she couldn't wait for dinner. Fiona thought she was going to give her father cufflinks, and she was planning to give the same gift before she did. It wasn't like she was doing anything bad, but it still felt a little heavy on her heart. The dinner was pretty crowded. Lady Imelda wished her husband a happy birthday and said that since it was their first birthday dinner since coming to this house, they should celebrate it from the heart. Imelda wanted to present her with her gift first, and gave her a vintage wine from the year they first met. The next one was Fiona. She showed him the cufflinks and said she thought they would be perfect for him. Fiona glanced at Leticia and then said she picked those out with Lord Sebran, and if he liked that, it was thanks to him. Even his father found it odd that they picked it just the two of them. She said he was always so kind and helped her so much. Imelda mentioned that he even picked her dress out for her. She said they often go out together and he was very kind to her fiancé's family. Fiona twirled and told Leticia that it was her turn. Leticia could feel the evil eyes just staring at her. From inside here, she was going to take out the tie pin, but she was so nervous. She thought about what Isaac said. There wasn't a single person in this house who was on her side. Even if she goes against the ones basking in her father's favor, her father would always side with her stepmother and stepsister. There was no guarantee he would even be happy with a gift from someone like her in the first place. Fiona acted like she didn't know what she bought him and asked what she was going to give him. They were staring at her, full of expectation, waiting for her to embarrass herself. She reminded herself that she had to be brave and showed the purple tie pin. She asked if he would accept it. The first reaction was from Fiona because she was shocked. Her father was also shocked because that was the one thing he wanted the most. He said it was a fine piece and she did well to find it. But Fiona kept asking why. She said no one told her and she never heard about this. She repeated that no one said anything about a tie pin. Confused, her father asked what she meant. Fiona told Leticia that she said she was giving her father cufflinks and called her a liar. So-called Lady Imelda backed her up and said she lied and lying was wrong. She told her to apologize to Fiona right now and started lying. Leticia was scared, but she explained that she didn't lie. She brought the cufflinks and said she couldn't decide on just one and prepared both. But Imelda did not give up and said that preparing two gifts was totally unfair. She said that tricking people was part of her, that just like her dead mother. Realizing what she had said, she stopped and told Leticia to hurry up and apologize. Her father told Imelda that she hadn't done anything wrong. More importantly, he turned to Fiona and said Sebran was her sister's fiancé and yet she went shopping alone with him. He asked if she didn't understand that a noble lady was always under watchful eyes and she must conduct herself with more dignity if she truly were his daughter. After that, he wanted to eat it before the food got cold. Leticia couldn't believe her father actually scolded Fiona. Seeing her shocked like that, her father told her to go take her seat quickly. Even though tonight's dinner had such an atmosphere, unlike the usual tasteless dinners, tonight was truly delicious. When she finally returned to her room, she lay down on her bed because she was exhausted. Her door was knocked on and it was her father calling for her. Wondering what it was, she followed the butler and arrived at his room. The butler informed him that he had brought the young lady and took his leave. His father said he had connected the line to Sebran and told her to take the call. Puzzled, she put the phone to her ears and heard Sebran's voice. She was so excited to hear his voice so close, but still managed to ask why he was calling. He said he had counted on Caldina to put him through. Apparently, he wanted to apologize for the gift. They ended up overlapping with cufflinks and he felt bad about it. He said he told Fiona that they should choose something else, but she said there would be no harm if they were the same, and they were something he could use every day, so having more wouldn't hurt. And in the end, she pushed him into it. He apologized for not being able to stop her. But still, he said he didn't think she meant any harm and didn't want her to think badly of Fiona. All of a sudden, Leticia started to feel like nothing mattered anymore. She told him not to worry and not to be concerned about her. Looking back, from this moment, she had already started to steel her resolve to quietly leave this place. After hanging up the phone call, Leticia returned to her room and saw Fiona. She remembered the party and was about to talk to her, but Fiona immediately apologized for what had happened before. Leticia didn't expect an apology from her. She said she lost her composure without thinking, but she didn't mean any of that, and she was really sorry. Leticia believed her and said she should have told her before, so she was in the wrong too. Fiona hugged her and said she was so happy that she would forgive her, and reminded her that they were sisters after all. She said she was really lonely because she felt like she was being left behind by the two of them. Leticia didn't know that, and Fiona said they should all get along again, the three of them. The next day she told Isaac and Viola what happened, and he asked if she was really okay with that. Viola couldn't believe how pushover she was. No matter how she looked at it, it just sounded like an excuse. She knew that Leticia wanted to believe that Fiona was an honest girl. The school bell rang and Isaac followed them. Viola asked why he was there because they were in the middle of lunch. He said he went to grab some food and when he came back he just happened to overhear. Isaac sat next to them and said landing at least one blow was still pretty good. Her father was pleased and that's what mattered. Viola agreed and said it was thanks to Isaac's thinking. She was upset that she wasn't there to help her too, but her feelings alone were more than enough to make her happy. Viola reminded her that she had always been on her side and that she could lean on her. Alicia felt like she already relied on her too much, but Viola said she always seemed a little too reserved. But if Viola hadn't been with her, Leticia never could have endured these past 2 years, because every time Sebran and Fiona grew closer, it hurt Leticia. The one who supported her through it was her best friend Viola. Isaac apologized for barging in and left them. When he left, Viola expressed how odd Sebran was for taking Fiona's side. But Leticia knew that Fiona was honest and innocent, and she could understand why he would be drawn to her. She was always so afraid of her stealing his heart. But the one tying Sebran down might actually be her. The thought of not being in this place crossed her mind again. Viola saw her friend's face and decided to change the subject. She said her birthday was coming up soon, and she had been promised a proposal once she came of age. She asked what was going on with that. While she was talking, Sebran came and called for Leticia. He said he wanted to talk with her and asked if it was all right. Viola left, and Leticia asked where Fiona was. He said he was alone today. He then mentioned that her birthday was next month and told her to wait for him. He said he would prepare the most special words and come to propose to her. Leticia was shocked. He said that was their promise and he was going to come to her house that day. Leticia asked if he meant an engagement with her. Sebran giggled and asked who else he would be engaged with, if it wasn't her. Leticia couldn't help but cry, but he was confused and panicked. The feeling Leticia had just moments ago, wanting to disappear, started to melt away like it was never real. In the next scene, Sebran kneeled in front of her and asked her to marry him, with a bucket of flowers in his hands. Leticia humbly accepted. On her 18th birthday, Sebran kept his promise and proposed to her. But right after proposing to Leticia, he turned to Fiona and gave her a bouquet of blue roses, the same color as her eyes. At that moment, Leticia realized that his heart didn't want her, and she could never bind it. After he left, Fiona excitedly approached Leticia and congratulated her. Leticia asked if she was really okay with her being engaged to him, because she was scared that it might hurt her. Fiona told her that it was fine because it happened to her mother too. She said that the love they shared would never change. A marriage between families was the same as a marriage between two people who were drawn to each other from the heart. Before Leticia could talk or react, Sebran called for Fiona and she left with him. Leticia returned to her room while repeating the words Fiona had said to her. She cried her eyes out while looking at the picture of her mother's hometown, wanting to leave here. She couldn't keep enduring this constant denial of her very existence. But leaving right now was impossible, but she decided that before the wedding day comes, she was going to leave. And it wasn't for them, it was for herself this time. It was clear that nobody wanted her, so she wanted to give everyone what they wanted. She cried all night that day until she collapsed. She forced herself to start walking forward. Once she regained that strength, it happened quickly. Her father asked if she wanted something for her birthday, and she asked for a bicycle and nothing else. If she had one, it would be useful to survive alone in an unfamiliar land. She was going to leave this place, so she needed money. She decided to sell off any valuables or clothes that seemed worth something, and she had saved up a little from helping with her father's work. What she still needed was ability. She had been learning cooking and laundry little by little over the past few years, preparing herself for a future where this day might come. That's why she was sure she could handle a bicycle so she could live on her own. When she went to school after trying to learn how to ride a bicycle, Viola immediately noticed the injuries on her arms and face. She asked what happened, and Leticia said she just fell a little. But that was not convincing, so she had to tell the truth. Viola was shocked and asked why she was doing this all of a sudden. She said there were various reasons and she just wanted to learn to ride it. Viola couldn't help but notice that Leticia had been acting strange ever since her engagement with Sebran was decided. Isaac was equally surprised. Viola said she really wanted to learn how to ride and he was the only one who could. He asked if they wanted him to teach her. Viola couldn't just watch her struggle and asked if he could do something. But Leticia thought that was too much for him. He said he didn't mind, so they started teaching Leticia. After the first lesson, Leticia realized how hard this was, but he told her that she was starting to get the hang of it, and she would be able to ride soon enough. Viola wondered why she was learning to ride a bicycle when she was already engaged. She responded that she just wanted to feel the wind and ride as fast as she could. She mentioned the cobalt blue, an island overlooking the sea, with rows of houses, blue roofs, and white walls. That was a strangely specific dream. She panicked and said it was just her daydreaming. Viola said it sounded lovely, and if it was a place like that, she would love to go there. She had already decided to her mother's hometown as the place she was going to go. She couldn't forget the scenery she once dreamed of. If she was going to disappear somewhere far away, that felt like the best place. She was sick of being treated like a burden, so she wouldn't rely on anyone. Viola and Isaac noticed that she was staring at her so much, so Viola thought it was because she was happy. But she was thinking about how she wanted to stay together, at least until graduation with her precious friends. When she returned home that day, Lady Imelda was watching her from the window. She was furious that she accepted the engagement. Knowing that girl, she thought she would feel guilty toward Fiona and quietly step aside, but she was that woman's daughter anyway. She felt like she had stolen everything from her, and she was even going to steal from her daughter. And her husband was a useless man when it really mattered. On top of all things, he actually scolded her daughter in front of everyone. She was sure Leticia's mother must have laughed at her too. She had Leticia cornered so perfectly, and if this keeps up, everything would end up just as that pig desired. Lady Imelda would never afford another failure again. She decided that Leticia must be eliminated. She wasn't going to allow a marriage right after graduation, and she would endure it until the day of graduation. But before then, she was going to leave. She was going to go to Anemone Island and she was going to drag her down to hell. She was going just quietly to disappear. In the next scene, it was finally time to graduate. The ceremony was very moving so that most of the students cried. The long-awaited day of graduation had finally arrived, but that was also special in a different way because it was the day of her departure. When she was at home, she reminded herself that there was only one chance. She had to go over the plan and make sure she carried it out. First, she was going to attend the graduation ceremony like normal. The issue was the party afterward. The students would move to change into their dresses and she was going to slip away in the confusion and head to the carriage stop. It was going to be a detour from the main gate, but she was going to cut through the courtyard. No one should have business there, so she could avoid prying eyes. She had already sent ahead the luggage she was going to need and she had a ticket for Anemone Island. With 700 graduates from nearby schools today, no one would notice if she just disappeared. She was sure that they wouldn't feel a thing if she vanished. That's why she was leaving. As long as she was gone, everyone else could be happy. She comforted herself that she could survive on her own. She felt bad for leaving without telling Viola. After the ceremony, Viola asked why she had stopped walking. They had to go to the changing room quickly. She said she had something to do and asked her to go on ahead. She said she was on the beautification committee for 3 years, and she wanted to see the courtyard for the last time. Viola said she would come with her, but she pushed her and said she would need plenty of time to get ready for the party. Viola was confused, but said she would go ahead and told her not to be late. As she started walking, Leticia realized that this was their goodbye. She called her name and said she wanted to say her name out loud just once. Viola said she was so weird and told her to go say goodbye to the plants already. Leticia felt so bad and promised herself that she was going to write her a letter once she settled down. For now, she just needs to hurry outside. Meanwhile, Isaac was being criticized for not wearing formal clothes. He was having a hard time tying a necktie, so his friends had to help him. One of the students hit him and told him to get out of the way. Isaac felt like he had seen him somewhere before. He tried to remember him and then realized something. He gave his necktie to his friend and started running somewhere. He looked for Leticia and noticed Fiona being clingy towards Sebran, asking him to dance together. He grabbed Sebran and asked why he was with that girl instead of Leticia. He said it was bold of him to abandon his fiancée like that. He didn't let him talk and asked where she was. Sebran said he was looking for Leticia too, but with this many people here, he couldn't find her. But he said he would know what kind of place she would go to better than he. Isaac let him go and started walking. When he thought about a place she would likely go, it was the courtyard. Just as he thought, Leticia was there. When he called for her, she was so nervous. She asked why he was here and if he didn't go to the party. He responded that he didn't and thought she would be here. Leticia asked the reason with a scary face. Confused, he said something was bothering him, so he followed her. She apologized for raising her voice and said she just didn't expect to run into anyone here. Isaac noticed that she was still in her school uniform and asked if she wasn't going to change. She said she was, and that's why she was going to hurry now. However, Isaac stopped her because she was going the wrong way. Leticia was acting so panicked and yelled at him again. She said she was really in a rush. Isaac was intimidated by her and said he would see her at the party. She left there in a hurry, but Isaac noticed that it was still the wrong direction. Meanwhile, Viola had been waiting for Leticia and she never showed up. Even if it was graduation day, she seemed kind of strange today. She thought she might have gotten a stomachache or she might have gone to return a borrowed book. While she was looking for her, she overheard someone yelling that the honor student Leticia Caldina withdrew her university application. She was supposed to go on to university like the other students. Viola barged into the room and asked if that was really true. Meanwhile, Isaac was walking to the party, but he noticed that he was way too late. Everyone headed to the hall, so he wondered if Leticia was over there. While walking, he overheard people talking about how they couldn't find someone. They were saying that there was no sign of that violet-eyed girl, and that stopped Isaac. They said they were supposed to hand the girl over to the guys waiting at the port in just a few hours. One of the people in there was the bully boy, who seemed like he was in a rush. There was only one person in the school with violet eyes. Isaac started to question what the hell she had gotten herself into. While he was listening to their conversation, Viola came yelling Leticia's name to find her, so he grabbed her and covered her mouth. As they hid behind the bushes, the men in there said it was an elaborate setup just to get rid of one woman, and the other one wondered what they would do with her once they handed her over to the other. The other responded that they would snuff her out, weigh her down, and toss her into the sea. When they were gone, Isaac released Viola, and she started freaking out. She thought she was going to be killed, but Isaac said it was just him. He asked what she was doing here, and she told him that Leticia was planning to run away from home, and she was trying to disappear all on her own. She heard she canceled her plans to go to the university, and she even sent a letter to the school, saying she would live independently and never come back home. She was supposed to marry Sebran, and even after marriage she was still supposed to attend university, but saying she wouldn't even return home was insane. Isaac asked if that meant she chose this of her own will. Viola confirmed him and said she got fed up with that cold family and her fiancé. She saw the letter and there was no mistake, it was her handwriting. They at the same time knew that she had gone to that city by a cobalt blue sea with its white and blue houses. She was going to the island where that town was, so she must be at the port. She was heading to a seaside town, so she would have to take a ship. Isaac said it was true and mentioned that those guys earlier were talking about Leticia. That means Leticia had already left the academy to run away, and those guys, not realizing it, were desperately trying to catch her here. Worried, Viola asked if he was saying Leticia had gotten caught up in some incident. She thought it might be a good thing that she ran away, but it was the opposite. Because if she were really heading for the port, she would run right into their comrades. Viola said there should be violet-eyed students at other schools too. But among their group, Isaac recognized someone. The man who pushed Leticia down the stairs 2 years ago. He didn't know why, but there was no doubt she was the one they were after. Meanwhile, Leticia had already arrived at the port. She gave 500 rin for it. She was so excited to be there. It was her first time here and she was going to board. She couldn't believe she had finally made it here, and she had really gone through with her plan. She tried not to get carried away. She went inside and told them that she would like to board the ship for this ticket. While the man was checking her ticket, she was thinking about her journey. The man told her that departure would be in 50 minutes, and asked her to come back at boarding time. Leticia was glad she made it in time. Running into Isaac earlier really shook her up, and she felt bad for how she treated him. There was a loneliness, but still, her heart was racing. Meanwhile, Isaac took Viola with him and started going to the port on his bike. Meanwhile, those men who were trying to catch her were discussing what they were going to do if they couldn't even find the girl. Saying sorry wouldn't cut it because it was just grabbing one girl during the chaos of the party. They couldn't believe she would disappear ahead of them. There was a huge bounty on that woman's head. One of them came in a hurry and said he saw the girl. He said that she was wandering around here. They were confused because she literally came to the port on her own. He said that someone told her they saw a girl in a white uniform and that the girl had violet eyes. According to the townsfolk, students usually walk around this area too, but they wouldn't see many this time of year, so she must have stood out. He asked if he was sure it was the girl they were after. He said it was most likely because the white uniform was a trademark of that academy. The man was confused as to why she would come to them on her own, but still considered himself lucky. He ordered everyone to find her and not let her slip away this time. There were 15 minutes left until departure. By now, the dance at the party must have started, and she wondered if Sebran was dancing with Fiona. She would be lying if she said she wasn't lonely, but she had no regrets. She wished that everyone would stay well. It was time for her to go now. She had some time before boarding, so she wandered around. While walking, a beautiful person walked past her. She was stunned by their beauty. They had glossy hair, long eyelashes, and skin as clear as porcelain. She couldn't help staring at them, but then she realized that she had to hurry and board the ship. She had to line up there to board, and she looked for her ticket to show the man in there. Isaac and Viola arrived at the port and started running to the boarding area because she had to be there. Viola saw her, and she was about to board the ship. As they were about to call her name, the man from his class grabbed her and said they had been looking for her. Confused and scared, Leticia asked who he was. He said they were acquaintances of her family and wanted to step over there and have a little talk. Leticia told him that her family wouldn't send anyone to stop her and said he was mistaking her for someone else. Isaac rushed because he saw them trying to drag her away by force. She told him to let her go, but he was still dragging her. She said that her family had nothing to do with her and told him to let her go. The guard there asked if he had a ticket because those without a ticket were not allowed. Leticia was so scared that she just prayed that somebody would help her. The moment she hoped that, the beautiful man she saw punched him in the face and threw him to the ground. Even Isaac was shocked. He told him that the lady said she had no business with him and asked him to leave. He then offered his hand and guided her inside the ship. The guy who was trying to catch her said he would buy the ticket, but the guard said they were fully booked. With that, Leticia was gone. They couldn't believe she really left. All they could do from now on was to hope that she would be able to make it safely. For a second, Leticia thought she saw Viola and the others, but she decided that there was no way. She then remembered the person who saved her. She never imagined he would end up helping her. She had to thank him, so she started looking around and saw him. She approached him and said she was the one he had helped earlier. At that moment, she never imagined that she would encounter him, the person who set her fate free. The man turned to her and she was so amazed by his beauty. Leticia bowed to him and thanked him for saving her. She felt bad that he had helped someone like her, a stranger, and on top of that he had injured his hand. He looked at his hand and it seemed like he had just noticed that. He smiled at her and said this wasn't even worth calling an injury. More importantly, he was glad such a lovely young lady wasn't kidnapped in front of him. While walking away, he told her to be careful walking alone because there were lots of troublemakers around the port. After he left, she thought about how strange he was. In the next scene, Leticia arrived at the place she had been dreaming of for so long, Anemone Island. She picked up the luggage she had left in storage, so first she needed to find a hotel to stay at tonight. Meanwhile, a woman was informed that the woman with violet eyes had been dealt with. She asked for proof. The man stated that if they left any proof, she would be in deep trouble too. He said they sank her in the sea with a weight and she wouldn't float back up. After that, he asked for the promised payment. The woman gave the money and the man left. After she was alone, she took out her robe and it was Lady Imelda. She was thrilled that Leticia was finally dead. She wished to do this sooner. Leticia's mother and Leticia's cursed bloodline had finally been extinguished. Now her beloved daughter could finally marry the Maguire heir. No one could stand in their way anymore, and it was their turn to be happy now. On the other hand, Leticia was watching the wonderful scene on the island. She was so glad she found a hotel to stay at. She sent her other big luggage to this island before she left and put it in a rented storage. Tomorrow, she had to go check the warehouse right away to make sure it all arrived safely. She couldn't believe she was in the exact place where the picture was taken. While looking at the picture, she decided to rest for tonight. She accidentally dropped the picture and found something else inside. There was a postcard inside the picture. It was from the Granger family, her mother's family on this island. It was a letter from her maternal grandparents to her father. She had never met them, but they really were here on this island. But when her mother fell ill, her own parents never once came to visit their sick daughter. Not only that, they didn't even attend the funeral. This photo was in the study when she was little, and it was one of the few things inherited from her father. Even the servants at the manor were saying her family was cold and that they had abandoned her, but she hadn't seen it with her own eyes. She thought about visiting them for a second. At home, Leticia's father was informed that Leticia had disappeared. He knew she attended the graduation ceremony and asked if she wasn't at the party. The butler said there was a letter sent to the school saying she was canceling further study and wouldn't return home. Fiona looked worried and said she thought Leticia had left early because she didn't want to go to the party. Her father turned to her and asked why that would happen. He was so angry and seemed suspicious, but decided to focus on finding her. Lady Imelda thought it was the men she had hired arranged this. She was forcing herself not to laugh out loud. Hiring the pros was the right call, and they took a runaway perfectly. That nearly made her burst out laughing, but she needed to keep their story straight, so she asked if he was going to go look for her. She said she was of legal age and he could leave her alone. A girl her age could easily have one or two things she hated about life. Leticia's father asked what she meant and she said she might be fed up with an arranged political marriage. She was so happy because he wouldn't find her even if he looked. After all, she was dead. Leticia was so glad she had prepared for today. She found a bicycle and hit the road. The breeze felt so nice. Even if the same view continued forever, it would never get old because the island was so beautiful. The people on the island who saw her continued to compliment her and they all seemed very interested in her bicycle. When she finally found the postcard's address, she stopped and looked around. It was a huge mansion and was way bigger than her family's home. This was her mother's home. She wondered if her grandfather and grandmother were here. She came on impulse, but she wasn't sure if she could show up like this and expect to see them. A worker saw her looking around and asked if he could help her. She said she was Leticia Cardina, the daughter of Lucretia Granger of this house. She said she came hoping to see her grandparents even just once. The man seemed very panicked and told her to wait. Leticia started to get really nervous now that she said it out loud. Someone approached her from behind and thanked her for waiting. He was Leonardo, the head of this house. When Leticia turned to see the man, she saw the man who had saved her. Leonardo was equally surprised. Leticia was so shocked that she asked why he was here of all places, but that was Leonardo's line. He asked if she was Leticia Cardina, and she confirmed it. She thought her mother was an only child, with no successor. Leonardo had to ask if she was really who she said because it was hard to believe it so suddenly. She took out the postcard and showed him, saying she received this. He looked at the postcard and confirmed that it was Lady Catleya's handwriting. He then looked at her and said she really was the cold-hearted granddaughter of Leticia Cardina. He told her to leave because their family had no use for her. Leticia was confused. Leonardo said that after Lady Lucretia married her father, no matter how many times they tried to reach him, he never responded, and she was the same. Even so, her grandmother, Lady Catleya, continued to write letters. Each time no reply came, her heart ached, and every year, on her birthday, she sent a card. The one least worthy of trust was her father, Lord Frank Cardina. He didn't even tell them of Lady Lucretia's death. Leticia was shocked because she had never heard of this before. She said there must have been some kind of mistake. Leonardo told her that letters were sent for 18 years without fail. and he noticed that she wasn't dressed as a noble, but like a commoner of the streets, and assumed she quarreled with her father and ran away from home, and now she thought she could come crawling here seeking their shelter. Leticia said that wasn't her intention at all. It was true that she ran away, but it wasn't over something as trivial as an argument. Besides, she came here having decided she wouldn't rely on anyone anymore. She never intended to stay here anyway. She said she understood him. She had never met her grandparents before, and she came planning to move to this island, so just seeing them once would have been enough. She had one request. She didn't want them to tell her father that she came here. Leonard said he had no intention of telling him anyway because he had cut all ties with the Cardenas. Leticia apologized for asking something so selfish and went to her bicycle saying she would take her leave. She thought she might not be welcomed, but she never imagined they would reject her so harshly. To father, mother was an unwanted bride. She almost made Sebran feel the same way. Being rejected by her grandparents was a shock, but she was still thinking about how it was the right decision to come to this town. She wandered around town until it had gotten this late, and she decided to go to the real estate office and look for a new place to live. She returned to her hotel and was informed that there was a visitor waiting for her in the lobby. In the lobby, Leonardo was standing. Leticia was shocked and a little bit scared. He said he was too harsh with her earlier. He turned her away without even hearing her side. So, as an apology, he asked if she would join him for dinner. He thought she might not want to dine with someone who offended her. She said she wouldn't mind, and he seemed happy. As she thought, he was a mysterious person. In Cardena's house, it was a warm and gentle spring day for Lady Imelda. That bothersome girl was finally gone, and only her real family was left. It was a shame her husband was away for work, but soon he was going to return and everything would be perfect. She asked Fiona if she didn't have plans with Lord Sebran today. Fiona seemed upset that Leticia had disappeared and was worried about where she could have gone. She hugged her and told her that she wasn't a child anymore. But still, she was her only sister, so she felt so lonely with her. Lady Imelda said Sebran came by every day and told her not to skip him again today. Fiona said if she sulks like this, she can't enjoy herself. She didn't want to enjoy anything until Leticia returned. Lady Imelda was confused because she wasn't coming back and she had already been killed. While crying, Fiona wondered what had become of her by now. Meanwhile, Leticia was at dinner with Leonardo. He asked if she missed her family home and she replied, not at all. He said he thought she might be homesick. She said that from anywhere in this town she could see the sea and it was truly beautiful. She realized that she had gotten carried away. She was chatting so casually with the very man who turned her away just earlier. Just as she was thinking that, Leonardo apologized about earlier, which made her think that he could read her mind. He mentioned how she said there might be some kind of misunderstanding, that maybe things had been misinterpreted, and she was right. Leticia asked why he thought that, and he took out a bunch of letters. Those letters were just a fraction of them. They were from her grandmother, Lady Catleya, to her father, Lord Cardena, and those from Lord Cardena to Lady Catleya. She thought there were no letters, so she was quite surprised. He explained that his family's butler, the elderly man who escorted her earlier, had been hiding the letters from both families. Leticia asked why he would do such a thing, and he said he was against her parents' marriage from the very beginning. He was sure she could guess that it was because of Lord Cardena's former lover, Lady Imelda. Her mother wished to marry him despite that, but was betrayed. Lady Catleya, hearing she had fallen ill with grief, was devastated, and the butler couldn't bear to watch her suffer. To spare Lady Catleya any further grief, he abandoned Lady Lucretia, and for 18 years after she was born, he deliberately cut off ties between the families. They only learned the truth when he confessed. After he sent her away so harshly, he said there was something he needed to tell him. Speaking with her made him realize he could no longer carry such guilt. Leticia was still confused as to why a butler would go that far. Leonardo explained that he was in love with her grandmother. He deceived even the head of the house, Lord James, her husband, and even him, the current head. Such must have been the depth of his feelings for her. The waitress brought their food, and they started eating before continuing with their conversation. Leticia said it looked delicious, and he told her to eat without reservation. Lord Leonardo's every gesture was so graceful, and she wondered when he had been head of the Granger family, and what his relation to her grandparents was. Since she dozed off, he asked if she didn't like it. She said the food was so delicious, and everything she had here on the island had been wonderful. Leonardo said the climate and culture of this island might suit her. After all, it was her mother's homeland. Leticia hoped this too, and would like to live here for a long time. Leonardo asked if she was serious. He asked if she really intended to stay permanently, and not just a temporary escape. Leticia confirmed him and said she even learned to ride a bicycle for that reason. She plans to find both a place to live and work here. He said he would introduce her to a realtor here tomorrow, and when the time comes to sign, she would need a guarantor, so he would be that for her. Leticia was so touched by his generous offer, but since her grandparents still think ill of her, even if it was a misunderstanding, she had someone from the Granger family be a guarantor. He said she was right, it would take time to clear things up. So for now at least, he wanted to arrange a temporary place for her to stay. He asked about her father's mistress and her child. She said after her mother passed away, they were welcomed into their house right away, and now they lived together with her father, the three of them. Leonardo found this utterly disgraceful and realized that the rumors were true. At first, he thought this was just a quarrel between parents and child, but now he could imagine why she truly left home. There was something that had been on his mind. On the ship, when those thugs were harassing her, she said she had no family. If she truly lived 18 years in loneliness, then they might bear some responsibility. He apologized for not being able to help her, but she had done well on her own until now. Leticia was so happy that someone acknowledged her. Meanwhile, Isaac and Viola were together. Viola seemed like she tried to change her appearance, but it wasn't that clever. She said she told her family she was on a graduation trip with friends, and if they found out she was going with a guy like him, it would be bad. When he said he would look for Leticia over spring break, she insisted on tagging along. So even if those goons seemed to have backed off with no room booked for a princess like her, it would be bad. She told him not to underestimate her and said she wanted to chase after Leticia right away too. But alone, she knew she was a bother. Isaac had never said she was a bother. They bought 2 tickets to a Nemo Island. The guard asked if they needed seasickness medicine since it was their first time, but Viola said she would be fine. However, on the ship, she couldn't stop puking. Isaac asked if she wanted to get some fresh air. She felt like becoming a fish at this point. When they went outside, she started thinking about Leticia and how she was all alone. She couldn't help but cry because she left without telling her. She thought she was her best friend. Isaac comforted her that she didn't want her best friend to worry most. She was a lot stronger than Viola thought, and there was no need to worry. Viola responded that she was going to help him. Isaac was confused and asked where this came from. Apparently, she thought Isaac liked her. Confused, Isaac asked how she figured it out and judged her. She said it was because he was always looking out for her. Going to look for her with no leads, even if she was his classmates, was not normal. Isaac said she looked for her too, but she already said she loved Leticia. He said they were about the same. He turned his back to her because his face was all red. Meanwhile, Leticia was getting ready to buckle down and find a great place today. She couldn't stay in a hotel forever. Lord Leonardo said he would meet her in the lobby. When she went to the lobby, she saw him standing with someone. Leticia felt what was going on the moment she saw that woman. She approached Leticia wanting to see her face, and said how much she looked just like Lucretia. Lord Leonardo introduced the woman as their real grandmother, Lady Catlia. She was shocked to see her. Lady Catlia hugged her very tightly, while saying how much she wanted to see her and never thought meeting her for the first time would feel this precious. When she said she loved her, Leticia started crying her eyes out. All this time, all she wanted was to be loved, and this was her first time. Leonardo explained that as soon as he got home last night, he told Lady Catlia about her, and she insisted on coming herself today. His worries were needless. She wasn't the least bit angry with her. On the contrary, she always believed that the day would come when she would see her again. Lady Catlia said that when the letters stopped, she truly wanted to rush to her, but they told her Lucretia was unstable, that she must not visit. Hiding even the letters of her passing and not telling her at once really shocked her. As for Leticia living on this island, Lady Catlia said she was more than welcome. Leonardo wanted to take her somewhere before the realtor. He was sure she would love it. She took her to a small house, and when they went inside, Lady Catlia said this was the room Lucretia used to live in by herself, and that she was giving it to her now. Shocked, Leticia said she couldn't accept that. Lady Catlia told her that there was no one using it. Still, this was too valuable for her to be okay with, and besides, she wanted to stand on her own. Even from her grandmother, she didn't intend to take help. Lady Catlia found her terribly earnest, but there was no need to go out of her way to rent somewhere else. Leonardo explained to her that she was serious. She then suggested paying her rent and living here. There was even a police outpost nearby, so it was safe. And if she uses it, Lucretia would be happy too. Leonardo asked if it was okay without asking his grandfather, and she said it was fine. Even though he looked stubborn, he was soft-hearted. Leticia didn't realize until now that she did have a grandfather too, and wondered what kind of person he was. Leonardo said he could be a little difficult, but he had cute sides too. Being with her grandmother and Lord Leonardo, Leticia felt like a farm family. She decided that it was time for her to ask what Leonardo's relationship was with them. Leonardo realized that he had forgotten to tell her and explained that he was an adopted son of this family. His parents were close with the Granger family, but when he was 12, they died in a ship accident. Lady Catlia said they only had Lucretia, and once she married, that was it. So they took him in since he had no one else, having him save them as well. Now he was even a fine head of the family. Leonardo promised to help her so she could meet her grandfather soon. Like he said before, he was stubborn, so it might take time. Lady Catlia asked Leticia to come stay with them. Now that her room was settled, Leonardo said it was a good idea because their grandfather would be out until tonight anyway. She wasn't sure if it would be okay to do that, but her grandmother said it was fine. Besides, once he sees his granddaughter, he would change instantly. Leticia noticed the difference between here and her home. They looked so happy, and it was nothing like hers. When they arrived at Lady Catlea's mansion, they heard an old man yelling, asking someone why they had shown up. Leonardo immediately knew it was his grandfather. His grandfather was yelling at someone, telling them to never show his face to him again. The person he was screaming at was no one but Leticia's father. When Leticia called Lord Cardina father, Leonardo confirmed that this was really him. Leticia was nervous because her father was here, and it was her first time seeing her grandfather. Lord Cardina asked Leticia why she left home and came here. Leticia was trembling in fear, and Lady Catlea noticed that, so she comforted her that she was safe here. Leonardo saw the fear in her eyes and stepped up, ordering Lord Cardina to step away from his family. Lord Cardina didn't know who he was, so he responded that he belonged to this house, and if he had any business, he was going to speak with him. It was his duty as the current head of this house to protect it, so he asked his grandfather to allow him. Catlea told the old man to let him handle this. The old man was confused as to who that girl was, so she told him that the girl was their granddaughter. Leonardo asked if he had come here to drag Leticia back. He confirmed him and said he would take her. Lady Catlea told him to stay away from her. Leonardo asked if he had any idea what she had been through, coming here all alone. He was the one who had tormented her and Lady Lucretia all these years. He told Lord Cardina to leave, and Lord Cardina didn't insist on anything and walked away. After that incident, Leticia had some alone time for a while. Lady Catlea came to her room and apologized for making her wait alone. Leticia asked how her grandfather was. She apologized on his behalf because he was so quick-tempered and he was getting old. It seemed like he needed some time to process her sudden arrival. Leticia felt guilty and blamed herself, but Leonardo told her that there was no need for her to apologize. They were all shocked at how things turned out, but it hadn't all been bad. Lady Catlea was just so happy she got to see her. What concerned Leonardo was how his father found her here so quickly. He asked if she had any idea. She mentioned that she had 2 treasured photographs in her room and she took only one of those islands, and that might be the reason. But she never imagined he would notice something like that. That photo was like a keepsake from her mother. She always longed to see this island. Leonardo seemed to figure out what was going on, and decided to change the topic by offering to show her around the island tomorrow since she admired it so much. Her father likely wouldn't come back here for a while after that scene, and he was sure she would want to know the island before moving into a new home. Leticia asked if that would be all right with him. He said he would pick her up at her hotel again. The next day, Leonardo took her somewhere to see the view better. From there, they could see the entire island. The town hall was over there, and the library was right next to it. She could get just about everything she needed from the shops along this street. Somehow, not only was this island beautiful, but the people here were relaxed too. It was really nice. The town was small, but it wasn't bad. He asked if they should get some lunch soon, and she said okay. Leonardo brought a baguette sandwich that looked absolutely delicious. He said it wasn't fancy, but it was pretty good. He accidentally spilled some sauce. She said she had something to wipe it with and gave him. She noticed that even someone as cool as him gets frustrated when you mess up. She took out her handkerchief, but the wind threw it. She apologized and said she would grab it and be tight back. The handkerchief dropped right in front of a woman and she took it. When Leticia said it was hers, she gave it back to her and said it was a lovely embroidered handkerchief. She said she was glad she thought so because she stitched it herself. The woman was shocked that she had made it herself. Leonardo came saying he got some paper napkins and saw the woman. The woman was even more shocked, and she asked if he was with her. She started crying because this encounter moved her so much that she wanted to thank the heavens. She said this girl was an embroidery, a genius. She found it amazing because there weren't many craftsmen who could do such delicate work. Her name was Helen, and she ran a handicraft shop. She had been dreaming of selling beautiful embroidery like this for ages, and asked her to come by after she finished eating and left. Leticia admitted that she felt overwhelmed, and Leonardo didn't follow a single word of that. She asked if it would be all right if they visited her shop later. Meanwhile, at Cardina's house, Lady Imelda was exhaling fire because her husband had left. She stopped a butler named Jeffrey and asked if he really went away on business and how long he was planning on not coming home. Since he was her husband's steward, there was no way he wouldn't know. Jeffrey responded that he had a general idea of his schedule. However, he instructed him not to tell her, and that was his order. Lady Imelda said she was his employer, but he corrected her that his employer was her husband. Lady Imelda asked where he was always running off to for work. He said he wasn't obligated to tell her. She said she would be reporting this insolence to him. Jeffrey didn't have a problem with that and excused himself. She was taking out her anger on the butlers and decided that he was fired the moment Frank got back. Speaking of that butler, she remembered that he stuck his nose where it didn't belong when Leticia hurt her leg. But now that wretched pig was gone, she was getting bored anyway. From now on, she decided to deal with troublesome servants as a pastime. She was going to evaluate them and fire them one by one. And Fiona, now that Leticia was gone, should enjoy herself with Lord Sebran openly. She looked from the window and saw Sebran with a bouquet. She still didn't understand what Fiona even saw in that country bumpkin boy. Fiona was also watching him from her room and found him so annoying. He was like a dumb mutt that didn't get the hint, and it was exhausting. She totally spoiled him, and it was a huge mistake. He kept coming back no matter how many times she drove him off. Even she didn't understand what she saw in Lord Sebran to begin with. She thought he was kind, but being with him felt more like having a pet. Those street punks would be 100 times better than this. Still, Sebran was way easier to manipulate than those guys. Leticia's frustrated face was just too funny to her, so she teased her a little and poked at Lord Sebran just for fun. But she never thought she would take it so hard that she would actually run away from home. She only flirted with Sebran to show off to Leticia, so without her around, there was no point. And now that Leticia was gone, they were treating her like the runner-up, that she were the one who would marry him. The situation was really bad. She started wondering where Leticia would go. Lady Imelda came to her room and saw her crying, so she said she would make sure she married Lord Sebran no matter what. Meanwhile, Isaac and Viola were trying to find some clues. Even on a small island, searching blindly was endless. But all they knew was that she boarded a ship bound for this island. She suggested thinking about the kind of places she would go. She thought about a restaurant with delicious food, a stylish boutique she could only find in this town, or a cozy little cafe, but it seemed like those were the places she wanted to go. All Isaac knew was that she liked plants like the flower shop in front of them. The person standing there was so handsome that Viola was captivated. The boy apologized for standing in their way. Viola tried to talk to him, but Isaac pushed her a little. He told her to take this seriously and help search. He asked if she was looking for some kind of plant and said he could help. Viola said yes, but Isaac shushed her and said they weren't looking for plants, they were looking for a plant lover. The boy responded that he knew just the place on this island that collectors loved. He assumed Isaac liked plants too. He said it was because of her influence. The boy asked if they were travelers here in Xi'an, and they introduced themselves. The boy was a researcher in herbal studies, so he knew a lot about the plants on this island and was happy to guide them. Xi'an showed them the map of the entire Anemone Island. The botanical garden up north was especially popular with tourists, and there the Anemone Garden was famous for the flower that gave this island its name. It was beautiful, so he suggested seeing it at least once. Isaac wasn't sure if they could really trust this guy. Viola scolded him for doubting him. She said that he was really handsome and he had been so kind. Besides, Leticia always said someone who loves plants cannot be a bad person. Xi'an asked if they had a map of the island already, and Viola said she didn't. Xi'an gave her a map since they were already in the tourist information center. Viola thanked him. He said he should be heading back now. He told them that he would be glad to help if they ran into trouble again, and gave them the place where they could find him. It was the university's address. Apparently, he was a student there. Viola was surprised that there was a university on this island. He responded that he was usually holed up in the lab there so they could feel free to drop by anytime. He was glad to have met someone with similar interests, and he said goodbye to them. Isaac was surprised that he was really just a kind person looking for friends. Viola said they finally got some useful information from a local, so they should search efficiently. They didn't have unlimited time. She surprised Isaac because he didn't think she was actually thinking through this. Meanwhile, Lady Fiona and Lady Imelda were having their tea. Imelda said it had been a while since they had sat down for tea together, just the two of them. She asked if she would like another cup of tea, and Fiona said yes. Imelda was thinking about how she was going to marry her daughter to the man she loved, while Fiona was trying to figure out a way to get out of this. First, she needed to survive this tea party. Imelda asked Fiona why she didn't meet with Lord Sebran. There was no need to hold back, because they were the ones who truly loved each other. Now that Leticia had vanished, that engagement would be broken sooner or later. Her engagement was just a political arrangement anyway, so she would be a better match. Fiona said the fiancé her father approved of was Leticia, and she had no right to see him. It was enough for her to love him only in her heart, even if she ended up marrying Leticia. Imelda didn't expect her to react like that. Fiona said she would come back someday. Imelda realized that she hadn't told her that she was dead and was not coming back. She wanted to tell her, but she couldn't exactly reveal the assassination. Fiona said there was no way Leticia would just abandon Sebran and disappear forever, unless she died somewhere along the way. When she said that, she noticed how her mother was sweating and she seemed nervous. Her mother had always been a liar, but her expression gave her away. She realized what she had done and didn't want to believe that her mother could go that far. She was about to ask Imelda that question, but she snapped and started yelling at her that she didn't know whether that girl was alive or dead. She asked if she was accusing her of doing something to her. There were things she could and could not say. Fiona said she didn't mean it like that and apologized for asking her that. Imelda asked why she was bringing up something so troublesome now because she should be happy. For a moment, Imelda noticed that her daughter made a face she had never seen before. It was a straight, emotionless face. Fiona thought about how her mother almost made her let her true feelings slip. But there was nothing to do. This was impossible for her. The thought of marrying Sebran made her sick to her stomach. She made her puppy eyes and started tearing up. This was her hiding everything without letting it show on her face. Her mother was desperate because she couldn't be with her father in the past. She got that she was projecting onto herself, and she knew it too, which is why she used it to tease Leticia. But marriage was where she drew the line. She put on her expressive face and told her mother that she, Sebran, and she weren't even a match. Imelda asked if she didn't even like Sebran that much. But before she could answer it, Imelda assumed she was just shaken up because this all happened so suddenly. Fiona confirmed her and said she couldn't get her feelings in order. Imelda said she understood her, and she knew her better than anyone. While hugging her daughter, she was thinking about how she was going to make sure that she was happy, without knowing that Fiona decided not to marry just to suit her plans. Meanwhile, Leticia was cleaning her new house. Everything was spotless after she finished cleaning. This room hadn't been used in years, so it was covered in dust everywhere. She was glad the cleaning tools were still there. She noticed that she missed a spot and cleaned it immediately. From today on, this was going to be her home. She then took out the photo of the island and put it on the window. After that, her tummy started growling. She realized that she hadn't eaten anything since this morning. She was glad she turned down Lord Leonard's kind offer because she couldn't let them hear noises like this. She only brought the bare minimum with her, so she decided to go shopping while she grabbed some lunch. She wanted to get used to this town quickly. The townspeople already remembered her as the bicycle girl, and they kept greeting her. She noticed the tourist center Lord Leonard told her about and decided to get a map there. After staying here a few days, he had learned a little about the island. Anemone Island was a small island with about 10,000 people. Visitors come endlessly to admire its beautiful scenery. Tourism thrives and public safety was excellent. Maybe because of the tourists, the townspeople were friendly and kind. It was nothing like her suffocating family home. She sat on a bench and started eating a sandwich. She ended up eating out for lunch, but she bought plenty, so she was going to cook for herself tonight. She was thinking of making pasta. She would load it up with ingredients. Bit by bit, she felt like she was getting closer to independence. She wanted to find a job she could do quickly and truly stand on her own 2 feet. They say you should make your strengths into your work, but Leticia didn't even know what she was good at. She helped her father with office work so she could handle paperwork. But that was hardly enough. She went to Helen's shop and apologized for not being able to come. She said something urgent came up last time and she couldn't make it, so she thought she would come today instead. But Helen was already so happy that she came all this way just for her. She thought she would never come again, so she was surprised. She assumed Leticia wasn't from around here and asked if she was here for work. She said she just moved here and she was still looking for work. Helen then reacted weirdly and asked her to come to work at her shop. She showed her the part-time job application and said their meeting that day really was a fate. Her embroidery skills were the real thing, and she really needed her help. Leticia was shocked that she would want someone like her. It felt unreal that she could find a place to live and a job so quickly, and for the first time she felt like someone needed her. She felt so happy. She wanted to live up to their expectations. After she met with Helen, she went to her house and saw a carriage next to it. While wondering why it was there, she saw Lord Leonardo. She thought he wasn't coming today, but he said he got asked to run an errand. He then asked what she was planning for dinner tonight. She said she was thinking of cooking for herself. Leonardo seemed happy and asked if she had started yet. He apologized for springing this on her and informed her that he was asked to invite her to dinner at their house. Leticia, of course, accepted that invitation and they went inside the carriage. She asked if the one who invited her was her grandmother. Leonardo said she would be surprised and revealed that it was her grandfather, Lord James. Leticia was shocked because she thought he was angry with her. He said she could see it for herself. He was actually honest, but he pretended not to be. Leticia seemed embarrassed and said seeing him joke so casually about her family made her a bit envious. Leonardo was shocked that she was envious of him. She said she shouldn't say that when he had lost his real parents. Leonardo told her not to worry about that. She was right, those two were as precious to him as real parents, so if that was how it seemed to her, he was glad. She was practically part of their family already, and he believed that in time she really would be. Leticia hoped that too. After a while they arrived at the mansion and her grandparents welcomed them. She apologized for the sudden invitation and assumed moving must have been tough. She said it was her grandfather's idea out of nowhere. Leticia was honored by the invitation. There was no way Leticia could ignore how her grandfather was glaring at her. So she had a telepathic conversation with Leonardo, asking if he was really not angry. Her grandfather approached Leticia and stared at her a lot closer. Leticia's grandmother kicked his back for scaring Leticia, and this made Leonardo chuckle a bit. After that, the grandfather said they were going to sit at the table now. While sitting, Leticia was sweating so much from nervousness. She knew that they were the ones who invited her to dinner, but she couldn't tell if her grandfather was really angry or not. Suddenly, he asked Leticia if there was anything she couldn't eat or didn't like. If so, they could have the chef change it. Leticia said there was nothing like that on the table. He seemed to like that she wasn't a picky eater. and Leticia noticed that he was being considerate of her. He then said he heard she moved to this island and asked if that was true. She said yes, but before she could tell me how much she loved the island, he then asked if she was even living at Lucretia's house. Leticia was frozen. Her grandmother and Leonardo tried to explain to him that they suggested it to her and that her situation was partly their responsibility too. But apparently what Lord James was mad about was why she wouldn't live here with them. He said that they were a family, and if she was on this island, there was no need to live somewhere else. That house belonged to her mother, so she could use it as she liked though. Leticia was puzzled as hell. Leonardo explained to her that grandfather was worried about his precious granddaughter, so he wanted to live together. Before they continued the conversation, the dinner was served, so they started eating in silence. And while eating, Lord James asked Leticia if it was good. Once again, her grandmother joked around with him, asking too much about her food and not letting her eat in peace. Leticia realized that her grandfather was just as Leonardo said. He was a kind person. And eating at a table like this, talking with someone, felt so comforting. Family meals together in that house were more than enough. Recalling those painful memories, Leticia couldn't help but tear up. Her grandmother was worried and asked if she wasn't feeling well. She said that she was just happy to be here. She was so happy to eat while having a conversation. While comforting her, her grandmother reminded her that this was normal for a family. Leonardo said that loneliness among people must have been painful too. Seeing her granddaughter tearing up in front of him, Lord James was furious. He was so mad at Frank for killing Lucretia and on top of that torturing Leticia. Her grandmother warned Lord James that they shouldn't speak too badly of her father in front of her, and it wasn't like he never sent words at all. Charlie, their former butler, threw most of them away, and they say there were actually many more letters. Lord James said he had already fired that foolish butler and they didn't even know what those letters even said. Even if he sent letters, his daughter was still dead. Her grandmother felt bad for Leticia but still questioned why her daughter chose someone like that. But she said she had always had terrible taste in men. She hates gloomy talk, so she would say it plainly. Forever she would fall for married teachers, traveling street performers. Reckless love after reckless love, she got her heart broken every time. She said she would stress 830 of them after a breakup. Leticia's image of her mother was totally different, so she was shocked. She was the type to eat to deal with stress, but in exchange she bounced back fast. She was lively, hard-working, kind girl who didn't discourage by failure. She was good at finding people's good points, and that might be the reason why she fell in love so easily. Leticia had only ever seen her mother after she had lost herself, so it was shocking and unexpected. Her grandmother said she was hard-working too. Leonardo agreed with her. After dinner, her grandparents told her that she was going to stay the night because it was too late. Her grandmother asked Leonardo to show Leticia to her room. For some reason, Lord Leonardo had been acting weird for some time. She wondered if it was because Lord Leonardo was adopted. He might not like her because she was the real grandchild, but it didn't seem like he would suddenly think that, so she was wondering why he was acting like that. Leonardo suggested getting some night air before going to her room and said the night sky from the courtyard was something special. They went to the garden and started looking at the stars. She was absolutely amazed by how clearly it looked. There were no clouds, so they were especially visible. While enjoying the view, Leonardo asked Leticia what she thought about what they talked about earlier. He didn't know what Lady Lucretia was really like until now. He knew it was shallow to speculate based on a gut feeling, but he couldn't help but wonder if her mother truly lost herself because of a mental illness. Leticia was shocked and asked what he meant by that. He said that her mother fell ill from the shock of her husband getting a mistress pregnant while she was pregnant. Her heart couldn't have been at peace, but the image of her bouncing back by eating 30 cakes after being rejected and the image of her shattering felt inconsistent to him. He had heard pregnancy could make emotions unstable, but still, for someone so strong, it was strange. Leticia said it might be that the wound in her heart was just that deep, and in that house her father and even the servants didn't stay by her side. Leonardo asked how she interacted with her mother. She said that when she was little she wasn't allowed to see her. She was told she would become unstable if she saw her. But starting around middle school they allowed short visits, and once she was allowed to see her isolated mother she went every day. So she wasn't in a position to know everything the people around her mother were doing to her. That was true, her father, hiding her ill mother from society, kept her locked deep in the mansion. Leonardo asked if she noticed anything in the little time she was allowed to visit. She said that contrary to what she had been told, she didn't lash out when she saw her. But she didn't seem well either. Sometimes she would vomit, and her hands and feet would shake. Leonardo asked if that was really a mental illness because it sounded more like a poison. Leticia started shaking because she had never thought about that before. Leonardo said he felt something was off and poison was a very real possibility. Sure, they said illness could come from the mind and a sick mind could affect the body, but symptoms like those and an environment where she could be made to take such a poison or drugs without knowing, that was a serious problem. Leticia started to freak out because she didn't know who that could be. Leonardo told her to calm down because it was still just a hypothesis, but if it were true, then it would have been her father and the current wife. If their goal from the start was to get rid of Lady Lucretia and be together, it made no sense that they wouldn't let her die for 16 years. and poison or drugs weren't something they could obtain that easily. Who did it, and for what purpose? How they made her addicted was unknown now. But to him it was harder to believe someone like Lady Lucretia simply broke mentally. Normally he wouldn't voice such a ridiculous theory, but it was also true that her household had people who had benefited from it. This was only his speculation, so he asked Leticia not to tell her grandfather. If nothing, she could forget it starting right now. But that was something that Leticia would not be able to forget for the rest of her life. She never even doubted it before that. Because of drugs, her mother might have ended up like that. But it eased her a little that Lord Leonardo said it wasn't necessarily her father's doing. Even though her grandfather said he killed Lucretia, she didn't want to believe that her father killed her mother. The next morning, her grandparents greeted Leticia. Her talk with Leonardo was so shocking that she couldn't really sleep, but she said she did sleep. But her grandmother already saw them chatting in the courtyard together and teased Leonardo for being a lady killer. Leonardo told her that it was nothing as she imagined. With how it looked, Leticia figured that there was nothing to be worried about. After breakfast, Leticia had to go because it was her first day at her new job. Leonardo said he was going to escort her into town. Meanwhile, Viola and Isaac were having lunch together. They still couldn't find Leticia, and it had been a few days already. It was a small town, so Isaac thought they would find her quickly. Viola said they might be wrong to assume she was even in this town. She was actually exhausted. This might be the limit for a noble young lady, but she wouldn't have been wrong to give up sooner, so that means she was that serious. For her sake too, they really needed to hurry. Suddenly, Viola screamed that she had an idea. She said they could make missing person posters and put them all over town. But if they did something that conspicuous, she would be unable to stay in this town. And if they find her, Isaac wondered what she was going to do. Viola didn't think this through. She wanted her to come back, but she knew her family situation wasn't good. So if they met again, she felt like it would be a real goodbye this time. But even so, she didn't want to part without saying anything or without seeing her even once. She started crying her eyes out. Isaac said they should go see that guy named Xian. He didn't know what would happen if they did, but if he were a student attending university, his friends might have seen Leticia. If she didn't want to come back, Isaac could accept that. But he wouldn't accept parting while she was missing. They were going to try a little longer and keep searching. At Helen's shop, Leticia was looking at clothes that Helen made. She was amazed that she could make clothes like that. Helen said it would be even nicer if her embroidery were on the edging here. Leticia wasn't sure if it would be okay to do that. Helen told her that they didn't get customers on weekdays, so she could do it while minding the shop, or she could take it home. And then she was going to separate from her shop, minding pay, and showed her the amount she was going to get. Leticia felt like this was a dream. She was working at the craft shop she loved and even doing embroidery for a living. It was all thanks to learning from Sebran's mother. Every time she hurt her hand with a needle, someone treated it. Suddenly, she recalled a faint memory of someone telling her to gather herbs that help wounds. She was shocked and frozen there. Helen noticed it and asked if she was okay. Leticia said she was fine. While carrying the boxes and checking the stock, she was still thinking about that memory. It was a childhood memory, but she didn't know who treated her. When the other servants avoided her and she was all alone, the only person who paid attention to her was a man named Gordon. He was the one who used to be at his mansion. And because of him, she took care of plants, and she was sure he said that there were plants that became medicine. In the next scene, Leticia's father was back at home. Lady Imelda's face was redder than a tomato when she saw him entering the house. She screamed, asking where on earth he had been, away from home for so long. He responded that it was working as always, but she didn't believe him. She asked him to tell her where he was going and what he was doing, but he stayed silent. Imelda told him that the girl was not coming back. She might have already died somewhere long ago. Work was fine, so they should hurry up and dissolve her engagement. Imelda told him that even though he thought it was fine if she was dead, he was feeling guilty just because she disappeared. At home, he treated her harshly, but Fiona was different. She was cuter, and she adores him more than that girl ever did. So she told him to hurry up and break off the missing girl's engagement and marry Fiona to the Maguire boy. She even went further and said that mother and daughter were nothing but burdens to him. More than that useless woman who was like an ornament. More than her daughter, they had loved him far more. Lord asked if she had done something to Leticia, but Imelda was not hearing him. She kept asking which daughter he wanted to make happy. In the next scene, Count Frank Cardino was having a nightmare. He was a little boy and he saw his dog attack a girl. At the hospital, he visited her and she thanked him for coming to see her. The girl said his father paid the hospitalization fees. He asked about her injuries and she replied that the doctor had said it wouldn't affect her ability to walk. He was so glad, but when she said that the bite scars would remain and that she was scared, he was shocked. She hugged him and said that every time she saw the wounds, she was going to remember being attacked by that dog, but if he was with her, she could feel safe. She assumed that he was going to stay by her side forever. And at that moment, her father came and he had an evil look on his face. Count Frank woke up sweating and trembling. His butler came and saw him getting ready for work. He suggested resting a little, but Frank said it didn't matter. More importantly, he said that he was going to be back quickly next time and told him to have everything prepared. The butler realized that he finally made his decision. Frank said he felt like he was being haunted by a living person, but that was over now. As her father, it was the least he could do for his daughter, especially Fiona, because he forced her to endure the painful labor of the concubine's daughter for years. The butler asked what he was going to do about the engagement to the Maguire heir. Lady Imelda wanted Fiona to marry the heir, but he would have to speak with the Maguire family as well. Frank told him to inform them as soon as he returned. This kind of thing needed to end quickly. Meanwhile, Leticia and Leonardo were having a conversation about the memory she recalled the other day. She said that they told her to forget it, but she couldn't stop thinking about it. Leonardo found it understandable because it was about her mother. He actually considered the possibility of poisonous plants too. In fact, it was the first thing that came to mind. They went to Anemone University because Leonardo's friend researched herbs here, so he figured it would be best to hear it from him directly. Leticia was amazed by the greenhouse. This was also a facility for the university's research. Leonardo started looking for his friend and found Xian immediately. Leticia was shocked by how handsome he was, and Xian was so happy to see Leonardo. She imagined a researcher would be more difficult to talk to, but Xian hugging Leonardo like a boyfriend proved that it wasn't that difficult. Xian excitedly asked if the herbs he gave him were doing well and wanted to see them in his courtyard sometime. His words embarrassed Leticia so badly that she blushed and sweated. Xian noticed her and asked who she was. She said she would disappear right away if she was in the way. They went to the table to talk things through. Xian said he didn't expect him to bring someone with him. He apologized for making her see something embarrassing. Leonardo explained that they were not lovers or anything. People say Xian had too few friends, and he misjudges personal distance. Leticia thought it was like that boy love novel she borrowed from Viola before. Xian then wondered if something happened since he came all the way on a day off. Leonardo told him what happened and about his poison theory. Xian said if it was so many years ago there probably wasn't evidence, so he couldn't say for sure. Still, creating a condition similar to what her mother showed, he didn't think it was impossible to do artificially. If they had the right knowledge, anyone could do it. There were extremely poisonous flowers that looked indistinguishable from ordinary ones. It was dangerous, so he wouldn't recommend an amateur grow them. While he was talking, Xian was informed that he had a visitor. Xian apologized to them and explained that visitor overlaps were rare here. Leonardo told him that it was fine and they would wait with Leticia. When he left, Leonardo asked Leticia what was wrong. She said that she had dragged so many people into this and she felt terrible. She couldn't stand staying in that house, and if she had just left quietly, that would have been the end of it. Leonardo didn't agree with her because thanks to her they were given a chance to face the truth. The contact with her family was the same. They accepted what others told them at face value without verifying it themselves, and until she came, they misunderstood the real reason they lost someone precious. He said that she hadn't heard good things about their family either, but she still came to see for herself. Thanks to her courage, they could correct the twisted truth. While they were talking, Leticia heard Viola's voice calling for her. And it was true, she was there with Isaac. They finally found her. Viola started crying and immediately hugged her best friend. She was so glad that they found her. She told Leticia that she never thought she would be in a place like this. Leticia was still in shock, wondering why she and Isaac were here. She said that they came looking for her because they were best friends. She was scared that they would never see her again. Leticia apologized for making her so sad. Leonardo asked if they were acquaintances of Leticia's. She said they were classmates and close friends. Leonardo didn't understand why they came to see Xian though. Xian responded that they only met nearby recently. He asked Isaac if that was the reason why they came to find him. Isaac said yes, but he never expected to find her in a place like this. While Fiona and Viola were talking alone, Leonardo said he thought she was alone, but she had friends she could trust. Xian couldn't believe they were her friends, and neither could Isaac. Leonardo asked who he was, and Isaac said he was just a classmate. Leonardo obviously figured that he was more than a classmate since he came all the way out here. What Isaac figured was that he might not be good with this guy. Just as Isaac was about to ask who those people were, Viola asked who that long-haired beautiful man was. Leticia explained that Leonardo wasn't related by blood, but he was a relative of hers, and Xian seemed to be his friend, and she only met him just now. They were both too gorgeous, so Viola started shipping them immediately. Leonardo commented that since Leticia arrived, he had been noticing but was surprised. He suggested that they come to his house with Leticia today, and he invited Xian too, once he was done today, because he still wanted to talk more. Xian wasn't sure if that would be okay since there were so many people, but he said his place was big. Viola wondered what kind of relative relationship they had. Leonardo said they could talk all that out at his place. Meanwhile, back at home, Sebran was glad that Fiona finally met him. He said he was shocked when Leticia disappeared and he heard she took it really hard too. Fiona hated being there, but she really should at least humor Sebran a little. She was only going on this date because otherwise she might anger her mother. Sebran's face looked so gross to her, like a dog drooling over food. She wanted to go home already. She asked Sebran if he wasn't sad that Leticia was gone. He said of course that his parents were worried too. They ask him every day. Even Fiona was surprised by how cruel he was. Sebran started blushing and implied that if Leticia never came back they could get married, and this broke Fiona. Back at the island, Leticia's grandparents welcomed them. They were all welcome to stay in their house since they were friends with Leonardo and Leticia. The dinner was prepared, and Viola noticed that Isaac seemed off. When she asked, he said that he was debating whether to tell everyone about those guys who were chasing Leticia at the port. But since this was a pleasant dinner, they decided to talk about it tomorrow. At night, Viola asked Leticia if she was awake. She asked if she was planning to live on this island permanently. That was Leticia's intention. Viola was worried that it might be a bother that they came searching without asking her, but Leticia told her that she was really happy. They remembered she said she wanted to go somewhere like this island, and even though she brushed it off as just a fantasy, they noticed it. Viola asked if she wanted to be found. Leticia responded that she might be wishing for it subconsciously, so she thanked her for finding her. Leticia then mentioned that she had already found a place to live and a job on this island. She was going to earn money with her own strength, cook, and do her laundry. Right now she was still always being helped by the Granger family, but for her own sake she was going to live by her own power, so that was exciting. Viola was so amazed by how strong Leticia was, and it seemed she had completely moved on from Sebran. Now that she mentioned it, Leticia realized that she hadn't even thought about Sebran these past few days. Viola was so glad that she wasn't crying every day for nothing. It was the opposite. Even someone like her met happy people when she came to this island. The only people who treated her like that were Viola and Sebran's parents. But Viola had a new respect for her crybaby friend Leticia because she really went and made her dream come true. She was so different from her. Leticia told her that she had someone she could rely on. Isaac was there. She said she was alone, but having a partner who could support her was wonderful. Viola was shocked and asked what she thought Isaac came here for. Leticia simply responded that he came because he was worried about her. Viola was so embarrassed and said she was going to sleep. Leticia was misunderstanding the situation because Isaac liked Leticia and that's why he chased her all the way here. She even yelled at her for being an idiot. In the morning, her grandmother teased them for getting lively last night. They apologized for being noisy. Suddenly they heard someone say he wouldn't let them see her, and it seemed like it was noisy over there too. Leticia wondered where Leonardo and Shion were. Her grandmother said she was going to keep it from Leticia, but her father Frank came again. So right now her husband and Leonard are in the reception room, and Frank seems to want to take her back. Leticia couldn't believe her father would do that. Her grandmother promised that they wouldn't hand her over either and she was going to stay here. Isaac wanted to join that discussion too. Viola was shocked, but he said that they didn't come chasing Leticia just to celebrate a reunion. Before they came here, they got caught up in an incident involving Leticia. He might know the truth behind it. If that was the case, her grandmother had no choice but to lead them to the reception room. When Leticia came, Leonardo asked why they were here. Count Frank was excited to see Leticia. In the next scene, Frank said the reason he came here today was to apologize for all the foolish things he had done until now and to finally settle the past. And he also asked them to give Leticia back to him. Lord James was furious, but Frank asked Leticia what she was going to do about Sebran. Leonardo knew that Sebran was the fiancé her friends were talking about yesterday, and to think even her fiancé was taken from her, she was practically without a family, so his existence must have been special to her. Knowing her, she probably didn't tell them because she didn't want to worry them. Lord James called him a monster for watching her younger sister make a move on her older sister's fiancé and didn't do anything about it. Leonardo agreed and asked if he was planning from the start to marry him to that sister. Lord James agreed with Leonardo and accused him of plotting with that mistress woman and meant to eliminate Leticia too. He was shameless for ruining his own child's engagement. Frank was crushed by their words, but he had to admit that he had no right to complain if they thought that of him. He admitted that he pretended not to see his younger daughter making advances on her sister's fiancé, and he was sorry for it. But that was exactly why he was here. He asked Leticia to tell him how she truly felt about marrying Sebran. Leticia started tearing up and told him that she no longer had any feelings left for him. Fiona and Sebran loved each other deeply, and the lady of the house also wanted them to marry. Frank said if she didn't want the engagement, she could break it off. That way she wouldn't have to tear the two of them apart. But Frank said he would not allow Fiona to marry him either. Leticia was shocked and asked the reason. He was the one who wanted the bond between the two houses the most after all. She told him to let them marry like they wanted, and she left the house for that reason too. Frank told her that Fiona was not his daughter. His daughter, the only daughter truly connected to him by blood, was Leticia. Leticia was shocked. Her head couldn't process what he was saying. Viola said Fiona was the mistress's child, so Leti pitied her and put up with her selfishness. So she was the current lady's child from a previous relationship. And if that was true, then the abuse Leticia suffered was all for nothing. Lord James said he was the one who abandoned Lucretia to marry his mistress. Frank yelled that this was not true. They may not believe him, but he never took her as a mistress and he never made her his wife. He was going to tell them everything right now, and he was going to apologize for his wrongdoing. He had no memory of ever loving that woman. He knew an apology wouldn't make this forgiven. What he did to Leticia and how he drove Lucretia into the corner, he did things that he could undo. But to stop Imelda from going any further, he believed the only time was now. That's why he begged them to listen to him. Leonardo asked if he was trying to blame his misconduct on someone else, because it didn't change the fact that they were deeply hurt by his words and actions. But if he claimed it wasn't what he wanted, then he had to be prepared to explain the reasons. With that, Frank started telling everything. He said that the source of everything was meeting that woman, Imelda. She was the daughter of a gardener employed by their house. One day, through his carelessness, his dog caused Imelda a serious injury. And because he was unable to train his dog and badly injured someone, his father was furious. They had to promote that servant from gardener to footman, paid generous compensation, and made them accept it as settled. And he told Frank to deal with his daughter's mood himself. Thankfully, there were no lasting after effects, but claiming she had emotional wounds, Imelda began clinging to him. Out of guilt, he couldn't strongly reject her, and people often mistook them for lovers. He couldn't stand her domineering and hysterical when displeased. Even at home, her father, who worked there, watched him, and he had no peace. More than anything, he was afraid of his own father. Then his father arranged a match with a count's daughter. Naturally, he had no intention of marrying him to a servant's daughter like Imelda. He wasn't eager, but if it meant escaping Imelda, he was okay with anyone until he saw Lucretia. When he met her, his heart was stolen in an instant. He decided he would cherish her, and it felt like his gray life suddenly gained color. No matter what, he wanted to protect her. That's why he couldn't let Imelda learn of this love. And yet even so, he was swallowed up again by her. He was set up by her. While he basked in brief happiness, he forgot how vile she was and underestimated her. Everything precious to him was torn away and crushed by that woman. Even Lucretia and his beloved daughter. His entire life was stolen because of that woman. Lucretia asked when he said he was set up, was it related to her and Fiona not sharing blood? He said that he became an adult, inherited the title, and married Lucretia, and they were blessed with a child. Truly, he should never have left Lucretia's side even for a moment. There was an overnight alumni party at a hotel. He was worried about Lucretia, pregnant as she was, but she encouraged him to attend the party. And Imelda was there. She was an old classmate too, so in that sense it was natural, but he let his guard down. Since the dog incident, his father gave the mother and daughter more money than commoners could ever deserve. With that money, she entered the same academy, and his school life was hell because of her. But that day, more than fearing Imelda, he was excited to see old friends. He drank, and he didn't remember when he returned to his hotel room. And then there she was, Imelda, lying on the bed with him, completely naked. He started freaking out and asked why she was here. Imelda said she told him to stop because he had a wife, but he forced himself on her. Frank didn't remember any of this happening. Imelda said she would tell everyone from the reunion that he assaulted her and surely someone would see him leading her away. He told her to wait, but she said he injured her heart and her leg with his dog, and then he violated her body too. Frank couldn't deny this situation anymore. He asked what he should do. She said that if he takes responsibility sincerely, she will forgive him. She was deeply hurt, but she could still tell herself it was better him than someone else. If she were pregnant, she wanted him to acknowledge the child and spend his whole life atoning for this sin. She told him to support their lives, give his wife and child no love at all, and love only her child. If he didn't, she would sell this scandal to the newspapers. If that happens, Frank's family's name passed down for generations would be stained. He had to say yes. Imelda believed that through her father she could monitor whether the promise was kept, but he thought he, as the new head of the family, could deceive those eyes however he pleased. As if she saw through that hidden optimism, his wife was broken. He grabbed Imelda's father's neck and asked why he told his wife when he kept his promise to Imelda. Her father said he didn't do anything, and someone sent an anonymous letter to Lady Lucretia, and she read it. He also claimed that he was on his side. He was also troubled by his daughter, Imelda. He felt sorry, as her parents, for having such an uncontrollable, tantrum-prone daughter. That anonymous letter was likely his daughter's doing as well. He said he would take responsibility and protect Lucretia and the child she carried. He knew Imelda better than anyone, and he wanted Frank to let him fulfill his duty as her parent. The anonymous letters kept coming after that, and among the servants and even parts of high society, rumors spread that he was keeping a mistress, except for the details that he had forced her and impregnated her. He was given no chance to explain at all, and he lost Lucretia. When he was in despair after she died, an old friend came to see him out of concern. There he said something unexpected. He said that Imelda already seemed pregnant at the reunion and asked if he was saying it was his child. Frank had no idea that she was already pregnant. When he offered her alcohol, she turned it down, and that morning she looked so sick. It was true that between the day it supposedly happened and the birth date there was a slight mismatch. He didn't understand women's bodies, so he thought childbirth could come early by a month or two. But he always questioned whether Fiona might not be his daughter, and there was never any act at all. If so, Lucretia would close her heart and have her life end so quickly for nothing. And he wondered if it was his inability to face her because he felt guilty about betraying his promise to Imelda from the start. After Lucretia was dead, Imelda immediately wanted to live in the mansion. He decided to keep them under surveillance and swore he would make them pay for this. He was not going to let them escape. He watched them laugh and make fun of him. He was going to expose who Fiona's real father was and give him the punishment he deserved. He tried to communicate this in letters, but they didn't respond even after several attempts. That's why he was here in person. Leticia's grandmother apologized and explained that their butler disposed of his letters without even checking the contents, and she had no idea they said such things. But Lord James said it was all because he was careless, and being threatened didn't excuse any of it. Frank did not deny that. It was all due to his own failings, but now that he had prepared to bring this to an end, he wanted his daughter to witness it. And if she learns his daughter was alive on this island, they didn't know what she would do. For some reason, Imelda seemed convinced that Leticia was dead. She may have already done something to her. Isaac interrupted and stated that that was the truth behind the attack on graduation day. He said that on graduation day, Leticia left for this island, and that day pursuers were trying to capture her. She escaped only because she boarded a little earlier. Leonardo was shocked because he thought they were just common thugs. Frank was a lot angrier now. Viola was confused, so Shion said it meant the mastermind behind the attack was that foxwoman. Even though the assassination failed, it seemed she was fooled by a false report from her own people. Leonardo thought Shion was going home, but he fell asleep around here last night, so he rested in this room, but then he couldn't really leave. This house was so huge that they didn't even notice him. Shion said Frank already had preparations to denounce that foxwoman. That was what he said. If so, it was the perfect chance to turn the situation against her. Leonardo agreed and added that the enemy believes she would erase the nuisance Leticia and seize her fiancé any moment now. This could be excellent bait. Now they had heard several fascinating things, but what he was most curious about was the abnormal state of the lady he heard about from his best friend. He said that she had closed her heart. Imelda's father was a former gardener, so he probably knew plants well. Frank's infidelity day was suspicious too. He wondered what those anonymous letters were. He couldn't wait for these mysteries to bloom, though Frank did sow the suspicious seeds. Frank was shocked by how calm Shion was. Leonardo said he was his best friend, a doctor of herbal medicine. Leonardo's mother was surprised that Leonardo had consulted Shion about Lucretia. He explained that they suspected Lucretia was made dependent on drugs by someone. Some kind of poison might be extracted from plants. After all that talking, Leticia collapsed to the ground. She was confused because everything she believed for 18 years was a huge lie. Her father loved her mother. Frank kneeled to her and told her that he knew that an apology wouldn't make it forgiven, but he wanted her to at least believe him. The one he loved more than anything wasn't Imelda, and it wasn't Fiona, it was his wife Lucretia, and she was Leticia. In the next scene, Frank asked Leticia to come back home once. Lord James immediately opposed this idea, but he said their household was going to change and it wouldn't be the same as before, and she should tell them about the broken engagement in her own words. Not just him, but his parents too. He knew that they helped her. Frank wanted Leticia, and only Leticia, to witness the condemnation of those people. And with that, Leticia was on the ship, going back to her father's home. Leonardo noticed that she looked anxious and asked if she was okay. Shion joined the conversation and comforted her that Leonardo was dependable. Leonardo said if anything happens, the two of them would protect her. Her father left the island alone ahead of them to prepare. Worried about her traveling later, Leonardo decided to accompany her. And to uncover the truth behind her mother's death, Shion came along too. As for Viola and the others, she told Leticia that they could not interfere any further in her family matters, but they would always be on their side. She and he were going to go back first, just the two of them. Their grandparents had complicated feelings about this whole situation. Leticia promised to write Viola when things settled down, and she thanked Isaac for coming to see her. Seeing them both gave her courage, so she decided to go back to that family home once more. Meanwhile, Imelda was so excited that the time for her beloved daughter's engagement had finally come. The Maguire family is the legitimate heir of a count's house. They were coming today to formally annul the engagement with that runaway pig, and once that happens, next would be Fiona's turn. Soon they were going to come begging to take this girl as a bride. Suddenly a man appeared right in front of Imelda and she was shocked. Behind him Frank was standing. He immediately figured out that she recognized who he was right away, even after 19 years. Imelda asked what happened to the Majora couple. He said that he summoned them, but before that they were going to speak with that man over there. He told everyone to come inside. Imelda was nervous because she had no idea what was going on and why that man was here. While freaking out, she realized that bringing that man here now wouldn't change anything because his daughter was only Fiona. But right after she thought that, the door opened and Leticia appeared right in front of her, healthy as ever. Seeing the person whom she tried to assassinate standing before her, Imelda collapsed. While she was freaking out about how she could be alive, Fiona acted like she was so happy that Leticia was back and asked why she suddenly disappeared. But before that, she noticed Leonardo and Shion standing next to her, and she was totally distracted by their beauty. She asked who those wonderful people were, and then assumed they were her lover or something. She assumed that was the reason why she left Sebran behind. Leticia tried to explain to her, but Fiona kept talking and saying that Leticia was cheating. Before Leticia could explain, Leonardo grabbed her and hugged her, saying she was someone precious to him, so he came along on his own. He assumed her fiancé didn't cherish her, and he told her that if she spoke all of someone before him, he would like her to stop. Fiona was frustrated, but she acted like it was fine. He said that Sebran and the others would come later anyway, and she couldn't wait to see the look on his face. She said that she thought Sebran suited Leticia better. Meanwhile, Leticia was freaking out because of Leonardo's unannounced touch. Leonardo kept acting and said it started over there. Frank said they were going to have her talk now, and if she wouldn't speak, he would. He asked if she knew his name. Imelda was still silent, so he said he was Henry Portman, their former classmate. While he was about to reveal the truth, Imelda told him to stop and asked what he was trying to say in front of Fiona. Henry looked at Fiona and said her blue eyes looked just like his, and he realized that she was really his daughter. Fiona was shocked. Imelda told her not to listen to that man, but it was too late. Henry said it was nice to meet her and told her that she was not Frank's, she was his child, because he promised Frank he was going to tell her exactly as it happened. Imelda started begging him to stop, but Henry didn't even look at her. He said that he was former classmate, just like Frank. After graduation, they happened to run into each other at a bar. He thought Imelda and Frank were lovers, and he pitied her when she was devastated by Frank's sudden marriage. And they ended up spending the night together. Then, about a month later, she told him that she was pregnant. But she also said she had a good idea. Back then, he was young, desperate not to take responsibility. He had no choice but to go along with Imelda's plan. At that reunion, he called Frank out, saying it was something he didn't want others to hear, which made it easy to pull him away. The moment he looked away from the glass in his hand, he slipped on the drug Imelda gave him. He carried the passed-out Frank to a hotel room and swapped him with Imelda. Imelda told him that she was going to handle the rest. He could guess what she was plotting, but he avoided digging deeper. Soon after, someone reported him, and he was arrested for illegal gambling. He was in prison until just recently. Frank said it was hard to find him. After all, his title had been stripped. He paid to have him released on the condition that he revealed the truth. Shion said this was what people called takaran cuckooing. A cuckoo lays its eggs in another bird's nest, making them raise it as their own. With humans, it's usually the man who gets tricked into raising the child, though. Imelda said even if that man were the father, only be the family registry. They were a legitimate family. She told Henry not to say rude things because she was the Countess Cardina and Fiona was Frank's daughter. Frank asked when they became a legitimate family. He asked if she really thought that he married her. He showed her his family registry, and neither of them had their names written on it. Frank said he never filed anything. He said he had acknowledged her, and he never said he would put her on his registry. Imelda said he tricked her, but Frank responded that she was the one who was deceiving him. He had been taking care of her strangers, and there was a limit to her nerve. Henry there was the one who should have been supporting her in the first place, and they should be thanking him. She tormented his daughter and even stole her fiancé. He told Imelda that she had no ties to him anymore and ordered her to disappear. Imelda was bitter. She said that the reason why they stole her fiancé was that Leticia had no charm. Regardless of status, the two should just marry, then they could be taken care of by the Maguire family. And anyway, Sebran isn't interested in that little girl. Fiona interrupted her mother and told her not to decide for her. Everyone was shocked. Fiona told her that she never said she wanted to marry Sebran. Since they were here, she decided to say it. She didn't like Sebran at all, and she too was always messing up her life. Right when she was saying this, Sebran and his family arrived and heard what she said. Imelda seemed upset because she thought she liked Sebran. Fiona told her that if she wanted to marry him so badly, she should marry him because she was single now. She yelled that she had never wanted trash like him. Leticia was shocked because all this time she thought they were in love. She asked why she acted like she was interested in him if she didn't like him. Fiona was surprised that she hadn't figured out the reason yet. She simply responded that it was because she hated her. She, born to the legal wife, lacked for nothing. In a big mansion, living happily as a count's daughter, and on top of that she had a fiancé. Meanwhile, she was called a bastard from the day she was born, lived a bare minimum poor life, bullied by everyone around her. She would never understand Fiona, so she thought she would take it all from her.